Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen. Happy holidays to you all, by the way. We are
Yeah.
here on Tuesday because Monday was a holiday and I didn't want to skip a week. So, no slides today. No slides as we talk about last week's game, next week's games, and some Knicks storylines in between. But I got the bomb panel for you. All right. I got the bomb panel for you. Here we go. Jeff Clafton, Dope Soul Sports Talk, DJ Shuttle, 108 Soul. Be sure to check him out Fridays between 8 and 10. Staffadon is in the house. And Lady and the Chef from Two Knicks Chicks. Happy holidays. How's everyone?
Great.
Great.
All right.
Bless.
Amazing. Amazing.
All right. So when we was here last time, oh man, we got the full. Are you ready? Put your thumbs up if you're ready. Oh, woo! Full panel.
Of y'all, salute, salute, salute. Check dude.
Holiday edition right here. Um, so last week, when we was here last week, DJ Shuttle was a bit depressed. He was talking really monotone, really down on the Knicks. The chat looked down. Everybody was down. The Knicks was ahead of their, schedule from last year, right? Their winning record from last year. But everybody, at least DJ Shuttle, I'm not going to say everybody was down. We didn't have that signature win. All right. Since that time, and I think he had us going 0-3 for the week. The Knicks were 2-1. We beat the Nets at home, coming back off that 4-game West Coast swing, 121-102. Saturday, we played the Milwaukee Bucks at Madison Square Garden, and we lost 111-130. Came back Christmas Day, Madison Square Garden, and beat them 129-122. So the Knicks are 2-1 since we last met here, and I believe 17-12
3-1.
overall.
3-1 actually.
3-1. Did I miss a game?
Yeah, because the Monday game
Who did we play Monday?
yesterday, Milwaukee.
Yeah. I have that there. I have us beating the Nets and Milwaukee, and then losing to Milwaukee.
What about the Lakers?
The Lakers. Yeah, you missing the Lakers.
The Lakers played that night.
It was Monday. The Lakers was on
Yes.
Monday.
Sir. 3-1, 3-1. Because you're right. Queens Court was 8:30, and we played the Lakers at 10:30. So the Knicks were 2-2, 3-1. Actually, what stood out for you guys and gals, player wise, coaching wise, rotation wise, offense wise, defense wise, or otherwise? What stood out for you in this 3-1 week, and how impressed, if at all, or even surprised were you with the Knicks' performance this week? And we'll just go in turn, and then we'll mix it up. Jeff, we'll start with you. We're gonna try to keep everything 2-3 minutes max.
Gotcha.
Well, first of all, what an honor to be among such distinguished guests on the panel. This is a big time show right here. So I'm punching above my weight level tonight, I guess. But it's
Not
good.
really,
It's
Jeff,
definitely a
but we
pleasure to
appreciate
be
the
here.
humility.
I think that I was feeling really good after the Nets game. To me, I know the Nets aren't a great team, but just I guess my Knicks PTSD was just kind of like that first game back on the East Coast after a long West Coast trip is usually a trap with a capital rap game, and so when we just came in there and then we handled our business, I think I said to you after the Thursday show, I just want one of these next two. We can find a way to split against the Bucks in this at home. I was going to be happy, so I have to stick with that. That first loss at home was just kind of a gut punch. Like, they shot 50% from three on 30 plus attempts again. Like,
Right.
again, they'd only done it one other time all season long, and they've done it three times to us. And then amazing what happens when they don't make every single 3-point shot. We actually can be a little bit competitive. So some of the things that stood out to me player wise, I thought we got a huge contribution from Taj Gibson in that second quarter in the win over Milwaukee. I thought his defense was surprisingly good. And Hartenstein has really been solid. I really like what he's done. I mean, in the 8 games since Mitch has gone down, I think we're 5-3, and he's a major part of that. Just what he's done in his 30+ minutes, he's really holding it down and doing a good job. And he adds that extra element and on the offensive end with his passing, and that starting unit is really good. And Jalen Brunson, what can you say about the guy? I mean, just phenomenal, phenomenal basketball player. He may have been 6'2", but he stood taller than both of those giants on the other side. Um, in that win on Christmas Day, I mean, the job that he does, he's such a tough shot maker, and he's the heart and soul of this team, and he's just everything that we've wanted for a long time at the point guard position. And I'm just soaking it in and really enjoying having a superstar at the point guard position. It's not something I really remember in my lifetime. I mean, I think other than Walt Frazier, we've not had a star of this caliber at the point guard, with apologies to Stephon Marbury. I know he was a terrific player and put up great stats, but I don't think he helped improve the team the way that Jalen Brunson does. I really don't. I just 6 assists, no turnovers. 38 points on better than 50% shooting. When they were trapping him, they were throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him, and he rose to the occasion. And
No doubt.
big ups to him.
Yeah, no doubt. Um, and just real quick, Jeff, do you think he's reached his ceiling as a player?
No, because he's only 26, 27. He's just entering his prime, even for a guard. So, and I think as we get better and the situations get bigger, he's going to have a chance to shine all the brighter. So, you know, I, I think that I think the best is yet to come from Jalen. I really do. I mean, I just I think he's phenomenal. I've really enjoyed him, and the job that he did this week was just. I mean,
Phenomenal.
the stats just keep getting better and better, and it's like, everybody just keep doubting him, because whoever's doubting him, it's just fueling that fire, and he just keeps popping off. So
Right.
national media, keep doubting my boy Jalen, and let him just keep proving you wrong.
All right. DJ Shuttle, what stood out for you this week?
Uh, man, seeing the team able to uh maintain some proficiency and the high numbers on offense while finally starting to play a little bit of defense, for me stood out this week, because it was getting pretty atrocious with these 60, 65, 70 point first halves. So that's where some of my depression and concern and worries were stemming from. So this week we saw some better defense and maintained most of what we were doing well on offense. So I'm happy to see that. What stood out for me is what I've been saying. Listen, we see what RJ's doing. We see what, unfortunately, Grimes has been not doing. And as I've been saying, Brunson needs to continue to shoot until his arms are sore. And when you're ready to pass, Brunson, then you pass. In the meantime, you can get 5 or 6 assists a game. I'm okay with that. Forget about playmaking for the rest of the team, because the team is not proving that they are worthy and deserving of playmaking, because they fumble the ball, they don't miss shots, they drop the ball. So I'm just happy to see Brunson doing great. Happy to see Randall happy for Brunson, when he's playing great. And listen, you got Christmas Day, you got the stars at the Garden, you got the excitement, you got the electricity. that really stood out for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it. Lady and the Chef?
For me, I love the back-to-back win versus the Lakers, and then the win against the Nets. And I think the difference in the games that the Knicks won with Phoenix, LA, Brooklyn, and then the second of the back-to-back against Milwaukee was that the defense was better in those games. And then the other thing is that they played together as a team. Um, and then, I give my kudos to both Randall and Brunson because both of them are very locked in. They're focused. They're producing. And I think that with both of them leading the way, it just proves, as I've been saying, the front office is going to have to make some moves because those two guys are going to need some help. Because I heard Jeff say the other day, I think, Steph, you had asked is, do the Knicks have a three-man option, a three big man option? And Jeff was saying RJ's not even a quarter to be considered an option, and he's not. Even though RJ has, I think someone was, I don't know if it was Shaw Legacy, someone was saying to me in the chat, oh, but it may not have been him. Someone said, oh, but RJ's been scoring 18. I said he couldn't have been averaging 18 these last few games because minus two of the last couple of games, RJ's been giving us 13 to 15 points a game. And he's just been very streaky, and I just feel like we need a third option guy. But minus that, the games that we have won, especially on this last game on Christmas, I think it was pivotal for the Knicks to be able to prove they can beat Milwaukee as they've struggled to beat the better teams in the league. And I want to say out of the two games that the Knicks lost out of the harder teams were against Boston and Milwaukee. But what I like is that I saw in the games that we won, it was good ball movement. Guys were getting touches, and like I said, Brunson and both Randall have been locked in, and those two have been just going off. And I hope to see more of that and healthiness within the team. But yeah, I mean, I think they're in a good spot so far to the start of the season, 29 games in. So I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, before I move on to staff, I just want to piggyback off Lady and the Chef point. The Knicks, we talk about the Knicks depth. Like coming into the season, we were like, okay, we're not top heavy, but we have a deep team and that should be good enough. But it's only good enough if your deep team shows up game in and game out, particularly against the big boys. Because basically what you're saying is we don't have a Tatum and we may not have a Tatum and Brown. We may not have a Lillard and Giannis, but we have depth, 1 through 9, that's going to do it for us. But for what I've seen, that 1 through 9, that depth has been more on paper than showing up in a reality, particularly in the big games. Because think about Milwaukee. We got a really good game from RJ Barrett, particularly in the first half. And we got a good game from Quickly leading that second unit coming off the bench. So if you're not top heavy, you don't have two superstars, RJ has to show up for us more consistently than he has. And Quickly leading the bench has to show up in the big games. In the big games. I'm not saying it was easy peasy against Milwaukee, but it was a very competitive game. And even though they made their push to get back in the game, we made our push. Why? Because we had 4 players that showed up and we had other players who were stars in their role. And if the Knicks are really talking about challenging in the Eastern Conference with this particular team, that's what we're going to need. And it comes down to, can you count on RJ Barrett to do what he did against Milwaukee night in and night out? Can you count on Quickly in the big games to come through the way he did? And that's the issue with the Knicks. And I know we still have those that are in camp stand pat. And if RJ and Quick was rocking the way they rocked against Milwaukee, I might be in that camp. Might be in that camp. But I don't think so far, I should say, we haven't seen that consistently, to piggyback off what Lady and the Chef was saying. Because when we get that, you can argue that we're as good as any team in the Eastern Conference if we get that game in and game out. Staffer,
You're on
you
mute,
muted.
Stafford.
Staffer called in so he could be on the show today.
Yeah. I want to say happy holidays to everybody on the panel and everybody in the chat. Hope everybody's doing fine. You know what I mean? Let me just go ahead and give myself a pat on the back because Queen, I told you on Sunday on the pop-up show, Stir It Up. Look out for that on Queen on Dope Soul Sports Channel coming up soon next year. You know what I mean? Real, I told you I was gonna go 3-1. I said that. And you know what I mean? And we went ahead and we did it just to tell you this team is a very resilient team. We always bounce back. You know, we got our weaknesses and our woes, but one thing I know, and one thing that I know people ain't gonna like about this take is that going to go ahead and give Tom Thibodeau his credit also too, because through this little journey right here, he has been making adjustments. You see, he made an adjustment from Saturday to Monday with this Milwaukee game. You understand what I'm saying? He made sure and he stopped Milwaukee 3-point barrage shots a little more down. You know, they wasn't shooting as much as they was 50%, on Saturday, but that was an adjustment right there. And we was just attacking downhill and getting to the rim. So I gotta give kudos to Tom Thibodeau. You know what I mean? He had those guys ready, prepared, and that's one of the games I could say is a statement game also too. I've been telling you and texting you that Queen all this long. You know what I mean? That's what you call a statement win. You know, all the critics, talking about, as they saying we can't beat a big team and we need a superstar and all this sad story talk. You know what I mean? And each and every time our team always come out and and show the doubters wrong. Even some of our Nick fans, our own even fans doubt us wrong. You know what I mean? But we just show out there and prove. And two more people I just want to go ahead and highlight again is Hartenstein. You understand what I'm saying? He came in, he's doing a wonderful job right now, as Mitch is in the air right now. We got to get that guy credit. You know what I mean? He's one of the best, I should say, bench big man in the league. You know what I'm saying? And he's up there in the offensive rebounds for us. I think he's like third right now. You know what I mean? So he's a very valuable piece. And I got to shout out Julius Randle over the weekend. You know what I mean? He was in 5 boroughs giving out toys to the kids. You know what I mean? That's big right there. You know what I mean? So he's giving back to his community. You know what I mean? So I got to give him shout out for that. You know what I mean? So those are the things I was observing this week, man. We going to go, win these games over this past week. This week right here, we got 3 hard games, and we gonna get it. I'm not ready to give my prediction yet, but we gonna get it.
And also shout out for Randall on the court as well. I mean, he's played well for us and putting out the effort on both ends of the court. Actually, like I've always said, I don't expect him to go all out every possession because of the load he carries on the offensive end. As good a play as Kobe Bryant, may rest in peace, was, he was not a defensive play on every single possession because of the offensive load. But he picked his spots and he knew when to turn it up, and that's basically what I'm asking from Randall. And I saw a lot of that over the past 4 or 5 games. Ajay.
Well, salute to everybody and Merry Christmas to you all. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays. To everybody. Well, first of all, I wanted both Milwaukee games.
Yeah, you did.
I did. All right, I wanted both them games, and I was really in bad shape when we lost that first game. The way we lost it, like as convincingly as they beat us. And having said that, one of the things that stood out for me is the fact that, as Stafford Dunn mentioned, the resiliency of these guys. I mean, they roll with the punches, get right back up, and go fight, go back to fight. And then they were completely unfazed by the game. 2 days prior to that, they came in, they played their game, and they beat Milwaukee. The final score doesn't really indicate how dominant they were
Right.
throughout the game. Because I mean, the Knicks, even Milwaukee, I think at some point got it close to 4, and that's the closest. I mean, 4 points. That's the closest they got. In the second half, and then the Knicks just like spaced it out again. So I mean, the resiliency is that really stood out. The other couple of things is, I mean, aside from Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, I mean, we know steady. I mean, that's the steady ship right there with those two guys. All right, so we got those two, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. I mean, it makes the front office's job that much more difficult when these guys come in. They go to sleep for 2-3 games, and then they come in, and then they give the type of performance they gave yesterday. I mean, Emmanuel Quickly came in almost effortlessly. He was scoring the beam, throwing it up like as if he was just practice. It was like scrimmage for him. And RJ Barrett comes in the first half. He had like, I don't know, 15 points in the first quarter. It's so hard for the front office to be able to judge these guys and figure out what to do with them. You know what I'm saying? Because you might get rid of, you might trade one of these guys, and then they become the next Devin Booker or the next, and I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying with that kind of performance, you see there is talent in there, but why can't they do this more often? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of mind-boggling. So that kind of stand out, like how the guys from the front office, I know they sitting there watching the game and be like, well, this why couldn't he do that the last time? And I'm sure they see these guys in practice and they know they can do these things, but they just don't do it. And it's
But that's the hardest thing, Ajay. The hardest thing is to be consistent game in and game out. It's not the talent or the flashes of talent. A lot of these guys are talented, but putting it together where you can count on them game in and game out, that's when you come into your own.
I know it is. And the other thing also, Queen, is because you let's say he was playing Detroit, right? You could say, well, Emmanuel Quickly or RJ Barrett, they have these games because we're playing Detroit. No, we're not playing Detroit. So they might have this game, this kind of game against Milwaukee, or top seeded team, and then go play the Detroit Pistons and then bomb out. It's it's just weird.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not get yourself up? You get paid all this money. How do you not get up for at least most of the games? How is it 1 on and 3 off and 1 on 2 off? It's on and off. It's like random with these guys.
Right. Would you say though, and this is to the panel, that Quickly has been more consistent than RJ Barrett, or well, let's not even use RJ Barrett. The answer is yes. But your thoughts on Quickly? Like for me, I'm focusing, and I haven't gone through each game in terms. I wanted to do that tonight and see how he's played against the Boston and Milwaukee and what have you. But I know he struggled Saturday against Milwaukee. He struggled in the in-season tournament game. He may have played well against Boston. I'm not sure. And then he struggled in the playoffs last year. Second time there. It's not like I'm making a big deal, trying to make a big deal of it. I just see some trending. I see some trends there in the big game. Just your thoughts on Quick. Do you guys see that or not really? It just seems that way.
It seems that way, but I'm trusting him third after everybody else. I mean, above everyone else. So, yeah, I think there's some truth to what you're saying, but I mean, I'm not giving it to RJ Barrett over Quickly. If I got to put my life on the line, it's going to be Quickly 10 times out of 10 over RJ Barrett.
Right.
And I don't think there's really anyone else to consider. Maybe Dante, but I don't, he's been streaky himself. Even when he doesn't score a lot. I mean, it's a little bit less that he's shooting bad and inefficient. It's more, is usually more so he doesn't even get up the shots. Where quickly, his numbers may fluctuate a little, but I think he's more or less consistent, and he's also going to consistently get his shots up, which is something that, like, you have to be able to get your shot. You know what I mean? And at least shoot a consistent percentage. I mean, for RJ to be as hot as he was at the beginning and to catapult into the depths of the valley where he's going to right now, come on. I can't. I got nothing else on that stuff.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be too negative and too depressed.
Anybody else?
I think the front office has that question too. I think that's exactly why Emmanuel Quickly hasn't been extended yet. I think the front office is not 100% sure either. So yeah, I think that's very real. But I think Shuttle hit it on the head. I mean, as far as this team and what we have, I mean, he's the third option as far as I'm concerned right now. And it's exactly because of what Shuttle said. There are not a lot of Knicks who create their own shot, and DiVincenzo is another one who can do it. But it's basically the big two, and then RJ can get to the rim anytime he wants to, but he's back to his Ray Charles glasses when he gets there as far as finishing, although he was great in the Milwaukee game, especially in the first quarter. He's actually what I think spurred him. He hit a couple shots early, and then everything else kind of picked up with it. When he saw those threes go in, the defense got better. The rebounding was better. Everything else kind of came along with it. And I think I'm wondering if that's maybe what's causing the inconsistency. I think when these guys are shooting the ball well, everything else is just kind of falling in line. But when they're not shooting the ball well, then it's kind of like they don't have that same juice. And that's not easy to generate either, but it is an important thing to, when your shot's not falling, to be able to be contributing to winning in other ways. And I think that's what Ajay is seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody said, I don't know if it was on this panel or somebody said, we don't need a superstar. We don't need anybody else. I mean, how can we say that, when we're not really getting consistent play other than the top two players on the team, And I think Quickly has been relatively consistent, in my opinion. I just think in these big games against Boston and Milwaukee and Philadelphia, we really need players other than our top two. What's your thoughts? Oh, I'm sorry, somebody want to say something?
Those teams play great defense. They know how to they know how to take away what your focal points are. So, all right, it's going to be tougher for Brunson. It's going to be tougher for Randall. So, just depending on them is not going to be that simple. Like, there has to be plays for other players. Other players have to step up and make a play. And you can't wait for the coach to call a play for you to make a play. Like, you got to get the ball and say, you know what, I got to do something with it and make something happen. This is not, Pee Wee League where you're going to get yanked out. You're making too much money. You got some room to breathe out there. So, again, I think that's why Quickly is the third guy. And to your point, Jeff, I mentioned this last week. That's why I'm really this close to saying, yo, you know what? Yo, just start Quickly, because just put him on side with Brunson and do a 3-guard rotation, because you got to see if putting him in the starting lineup can truly elevate the team, and if he's going to be worth giving him a bigger contract to. And it's going to be hard to validate giving him the money that you're going to ultimately need to pay him if he's coming off the bench. Or should you just trade him?
Well, let Freezy tell it. Shout out to Uncle Freezy, Blanche Tears. The Knicks are politicking and keeping Quickly's minutes to 24.
Yeah,
you know,
trying to get the trade
um,
value down.
to try to bring his trade value down. We talked about this Thursday on the weekend on the weekly show. I feel like the Knicks. Everyone say, "Oh, the Knicks value quickly. The Knicks value quickly." I just don't. The decisions they've made over the past few years. Usually, if you value somebody, you're going to make decisions to create space for them. You're not going to crowd them out. And I feel like you brought Brunson in. Basically, you're saying we don't see you as a point guard. All right, fine. But you don't start him either. So we don't see you as a starting two guard. Okay, fine. I'm still was getting 30 minutes last year off the bench. Then you bring in DiVincenzo. Now I'm down to 20. It's like what are you doing? And then you don't sign me to an extension. So to me, I don't really see quickly on this team past the trade deadline. And if they do sign him and restricted free agency, I see them trading him um soon after. Because I just don't, you're not paying 25, 30, 28 million, whatever it is, for somebody to play 24 million dollars. And I'm not talking about Quickly's worth. I'm just talking about how the Knicks are using him on this team. You're not paying somebody 25, 28 million dollars a year to play 24 minutes. That's my that's my take on it. Anybody else?
If they were going to sign him, they would have signed him because, like you said, they brought in DiVincenzo, gave him a little money. They shot the trigger too soon and gave Josh Hart money. I don't think he should have gotten that money, if you ask me. Too soon, and the energy, where is it now? Still looking for it from what he was bringing last season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Shuttle, you saying Tibbs should start quickly, the problem is Tibbs, and I said this, and a few people, they were like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" I did say, like Stafford said, I give Tibbs his props because he's brought a bad team and elevated them into a better team. Because before he got here, they weren't good. So he's done something right. But the problem is trying to have a player like Quickly start. Tibbs is not a risk taker.
Mm.
As much as he may have played around from Saturday with the little bit of minor switch ups he's done, he's not going to do that. He's not going to play because I've been saying the same thing. I've said, he should play, maybe start quickly because RJ, since the migraines and the knee injury, he hasn't been the same. We wanted a quick start from RJ. We got the quick start, and now he's regressing back to his, he's up and down. He's streaky. And that's the problem with a lot of the guys outside of Brunson and Randall. I call them the supporting cast. And Randall and Brunson do not have a good supporting castmates helping them out and contributing on a consistent night in, night out basis. And I get it's not easy to do that every night. Guys are going to be off. But and I agree with Ajay, it's too much inconsistency with a lot of these other guys, DiVincenzo, Grimes, Quickly, RJ. These guys are very inconsistent. And this is the problem. It doesn't matter if Randall and Brunson drop 50. We know they could give us anywhere from 25 to 50 points in a night. But if it doesn't result in a W, what good does that do us if you gave us all of that for what? If these other guys don't come through, you can't even give us 12, 14, 15, 16 points in a night.
Facts.
Grimes, you came off the bench. You seemed comfortable. You had 2 good games, and now you're giving us 2 points a night? Come on. It's not enough.
Yeah, I think Grimes may be having some confidence issues though.
And Queen, let me
Mhm.
just piggyback what everybody's saying too. And I text this to you yesterday when we was watching the game when Josh Hart scored his first 2 points. Is like he didn't know that we needed him. It's like you know what I mean. It's like you got Randall and because I think they were struggling and Milwaukee was coming back and we needed some type of jump start and he started scored 4 points in a row, and then after they will start rolling. But these is I gotta agree with everybody. It's too much inconsistencies from the supporting cast. As you know, my girl to my right, I should say, said, you know, we need more consistency from these guys. They not doing their job. So so somehow, Queen, we gotta do some type of shakeup. Is either gonna be a trade or we just roll until the end of the season and then we just make our decision from right now. But something has to be done.
And that's all I was saying, Mr. Don, last week is the team as is a concern
Yeah.
because of these inconsistencies and the lack of dependency and reliability. And now when you lose Mitch, you also need a better quality big, not to mention a third player that other teams got to feel like that they're worried about that is in the starting lineup. And that's the only reason why I'm even as remotely open to the idea of starting quickly. There's a business perspective and there's also, on the court perspective. But for me, like if we're serious about the team doing something more than the first round, that's all I was saying last week, staff. If we serious about going to the second round of Eastern Conference Finals,
No.
then that's why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Is the team playing okay before this week? Yeah, the team's playing all right. Can the team, get in the play-in, maybe get the 6th seed? Yeah, all right, cool. But after last year, get into the second round, 2 wins away from the Eastern Conference Finals, are you going to be satisfied with getting to the first round and getting bounced?
No, but I mean, I know expectations is always going to be anytime you get to a certain level in your career. I mean, especially getting to the second round. You know,
Can't hear you, Star.
probably
You going in and out.
meeting one of these teams in the second round and still end up losing. So I mean, look, we still gonna call that a failed season, or we still gonna say it was still a good season because we end up meeting Milwaukee or Boston? So I mean, the team got to have changes anyway if in order to beat those two type of teams, Boston and Milwaukee. And we I mean, we just don't have the supporting ammunition cast to do it. So
Right.
Guys,
you know,
can I
Yeah.
say something real quick?
Sure. Sure.
And I have bad news for you guys. The front office is not looking at whether we make it to the second round as a measure of success, and they shouldn't, right? Um, the point is you got to play as best as you can and get as far as you can, right? We may be able to get in the playoffs via play in. I mean, that doesn't mean we had a terrible season because of who we meet in that first round. Oh, we may be the fourth seed and we run into a brick wall called Miami Heat in the first round and we get bounced. That doesn't mean we have a terrible season. They're not looking at it that way. And that's not gonna be the measuring stick for this season. I hate to tell you guys this. The front office is not looking at that at all. They're
But
looking
it's
at
Dolan.
uh, uh,
It's Dolan looking at that.
that's
He cleared out the Rangers a few years ago after they had one of their
no,
best.
you're right. I wasn't even thinking past Leon Rose. So yeah, you're right. Dolan might be like, you know what, we regressing. Let's
We
build a
hustling backwards. We gotta
No,
get
you're
out of
right.
here.
You're right.
But
yeah,
this is what I wanted to say.
it's always expectations because you are as a boss, Aj. You look for your gross income to go up every year when you look at your papers. So you telling me you want your gross to be at the same level every year? And sometimes, Joe, you gotta go above the situation or even overachieve. You understand what I'm saying? So
But they got to give
even
you
if
the
you get
things to work with, though. The players to work with.
Right.
yeah, yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is, Queen. But the key is, as they say, it's the front office. Can the front office put together these pieces for Tom Thibodeau to coach so we can get to the other level? Because we clearly see there's no other superstar out there that's really available, in my opinion, to put with this team right now. You know, you're gonna get stars, at least one or two stars, or a high-end role player.
Right.
So we got to pick one right now to
And this
go
is
with that.
another.
And
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Queen.
No, finish.
No, and we just got to pick one. Either it could be a wing, or what people are saying is going to be a stretch five. So we got to pick if it's a superstar or a wing that we need to for this team. In my
Part
opinion.
of part of the inconsistency we're seeing is because we're young, and that's another thing. We got Randall and Brunson, who's, in my opinion, they're ready now, and some will argue that Randall isn't, and they need to see more of him in the playoff. Okay, I get it, fine, but we're expecting this team to get to the second round in the Eastern Conference Finals, but these guys are young. They don't have a lot of playoff experience. Even Quickly, he's been to the playoffs twice. We're expecting him to be consistent. Grimes, Hart. Last year was Hart's first time in the playoffs. Like, we have a team without a lot of playoff experience, never really played in those types of games, even high leverage games, really. A lot of them. I think if the Knicks are really, and that's why I feel like there's a gap between Jalen Brunson and Randall and the rest of the team, just in terms of not necessarily understanding the game and being able to play, but the gap in terms of consistency every single night. And I think that either you're going to wait for those guys to grow into that, and it's going to take time. It's going to take 3 or maybe 4 times in the playoffs, or you're going to go out and you're going to get some playoff tested players. I don't think they're laying around. I'm not saying they're easy to get, but I think that's what we need, and preferably not grizzlied 13-year-old vets. But if you can get some young vets, in these roles who've played in these high leverage playoff type games, that's going to work for us. Because think about it. You can find a player who may not have the ceiling of a Quickly. Let's just say Quickly has a higher ceiling. But where they are right now, what they can give you right now is on par with what Quickly can give you, and they're consistent with it. Now, Quickly may continue to grow and become better and better and better, but that player can give you what Quickly is giving you right now. He may not have the ceiling of an RJ Barrett, for those who believe RJ Barrett has a higher ceiling, but they can give you what RJ Barrett can give you right now on a consistent level, even though their ceiling is not going to be any higher. Those players are out there. And I think what the Knicks are doing, though, is they're still trying to win and develop at the same time. And I think at some point they're going to have to make a decision.
I'm still
Well,
on.
maybe sooner than later, because Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau don't have a contract beyond next year. So, I mean, the clock is ticking on them too. I mean,
Very quick. Very, very
at a
quick.
certain point, I mean, a decision has to be made on them, just like a decision has to be made on these young players. And, it varies, how good a job or bad a job you think they've done, but a referendum's coming on them just as soon as it's coming on. I mean, maybe not as soon as it's coming on Quickly, but shortly thereafter. I mean, this is what, year 4, and they are both on 5-year deals. So, I mean, a little bit of show improve from the front office's perspective too. Now, I don't know. They may have, James Dolan may have told them that they're safe. I don't know. He's fiercely loyal to people who he respects. If you're one of his guys, I mean, Steve Mills was in the Garden for. Well, Steve Mills is probably still in the Garden somewhere, to be honest with you, even if he's not, in an active capacity with the Knicks. So from that perspective, maybe they feel like they're safe because they're, on Dolan's short list, but, he's also very, notional. He gets he eats a bad pizza and all of a sudden he's like, well, it's time to shake things up. I don't like how this direction is going, he can do that, and he's the owner. He has a right to do that. So
Right.
and the only way to really avoid that is to keep winning. And so they're on the clock too. So it's a very interesting place because everything that everybody's saying is true, but at a certain point it comes to a head, and you have to you have to start progress. I mean, significant progress at a certain point.
Right. No doubt about it. And Paris, why we keep advancing and developing, because this is Brunson and Randall's prime years.
Exactly.
So you're going to just have them, year after year with a team, waiting for Quickly to develop into a playoff performer, waiting for Grimes to develop into a playoff performer, waiting for RJ to become consistent. Come on, they're unrestricted free agents in 2 years. They may. I mean, I don't know if they will, but listen, they might be like, yo, what is the front office doing? I'm wasting my prime here waiting for these guys to develop. At some point, you got to give them something, you know?
Waiting,
Anybody else? Any comments on
waiting for
that?
Mitch to stay, waiting for Mitch to stay healthy and make a shot. Don't forget that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Mitch. Lady in the Chef, you wanted to say something?
No, I agree. I just think that I know Steph, you had commented and you were saying what is the direction that the front office is
Right.
taking and trying to move towards. And I think that's the key point is like, what direction are we going in? Are we going in a rebuilding phase? Are we trying to move towards becoming that team like how Philadelphia was that team who constantly was in the playoffs and they're trying to advance to reach new heights within the postseason? And I think that's key with the Knicks because sure, we made the playoffs and we got to the second round. And yeah, it would be a disappointment if they only got to the first round and got knocked out. It's not necessarily saying that the season would have been a failure, but I think that also it's key that one, they actually make the playoffs and they become that team that's known to make the playoffs every season. But you got to advance further. And I think with the way this team is constructed now, they're only going to go but so far. And I truly do believe that they have to make a move like ASAP because I agree with you. After a while, players like Randall and Brunson are going to be like, what am I doing here? If, we just at a standstill, we get here and that's it. And then we come to a stop because we don't have the players around us, that we can really make something happen here. And right now, I feel like aside from those two guys, I agree with Shuttle. We need a solid five player who can stretch the floor. We need, this is not back in the day. Fives now, they can shoot the three. They can hit the mid range. They could, they're not just setting screens and waiting for the lob. You have to be able to bring a little bit more to your game than just that. So I think that the front office, they have to make a move.
And I gotta say, Steph, the way you explained it just reinforced my DeMar DeRozan argument. Like you said, he can do what RJ can do, but do it more dependable, more reliable, more consistent, and at least he's playoff tested and proven, and you know that he has to be accounted for by the other team. Like they're gonna game plan. All right, what are we gonna do for Brunson? What are we gonna do for Randall? What are we gonna do for DeMar? Like I don't know if teams are like game planning. How are we gonna stop RJ? I don't think anything like that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if the Knicks go out and get a superstar,
And I don't consider DeMar a superstar.
yeah, no doubt about it. If went out and got a superstar, you rely less on your bench players. Basically, you just need them to hold it down. Don't mess up, hold it down, let our stars get some rest till they get back in the game. But if you don't have those stars, then you're counting on your bench and your depth to produce for you. And that's the difference between having a top heavy team and not having a top heavy team. But let me ask this question now. Can the duo of Randall and Brunson Can a team headed by Randall and Brunson be a championship team if they had an adequate supporting cast, or do you feel like, nah, we got to bring a superstar in here? Let's start with Ajay and we'll walk around the other way, work it the other way.
So I don't think we necessarily there's no superstars out there. So I don't think we have to bring a superstar, but we can bring an equal to what Randall and Brunson are. Okay, it can't be Randall Brunson and then there's a drop. And nobody else is consistent. Everybody else is all over the place. Nobody know what they're doing. But if you bring somebody who's at least at their level with their consistency, who have the urgency that they have, okay, I think that will make a huge difference. Which is why DeMar DeRozan wouldn't be a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are examples that you could look at. Miami Heat, right? Miami Heat have players that are like at a level. You don't have like you have two superstars and then everybody. You have guys that are at the same level that could consistently produce. That's why there's nobody on the team except for like, we joke about that all the time, Queen. 3 NBA players and then some guys they picked up off of Sunrise Boulevard, or I don't know where. Guys who say, hey, you want to play ball? Let's go. But they consistently produce because you have guys who are at the same level and who can perform every night, who can get everybody else in the game every night. We don't have to have a superstar. I mean, if we get one, hooray, yeah, I'll be happy. But and then, of course, it depends on who the superstar is. We can't be giving up the farm just to get, like a Bradley Beal or somebody who's not going to be on the floor, because that's what you're going to find is guys who are not dependent, guys who can play, who can produce, but who only play like half the season, sort of guys. I mean, that's what's available out there. Right. They were damaged goods, as I like to call them. Yeah.
Staffer, can we win with those two as our best players with a upgrade in the supporting cast, or we need a superstar?
I think we could win with these guys with a better supporting cast, and the two positions I would switch out would be shooting guard and small forward. And I think once we solidify those two, we know that we have a 3 and D defender that could hit the three, and we know we have a shooter on the outside. When we know when Randall kicks out the ball, you got either a shooter or you got Brunson out there that can shoot the three. Because Brunson is shooting at a career high in 3 pointers this year and shooting more threes than he has ever shot. So I think once we solidify those in the starting rotation, I think we should be good. And I think the benches that we have is already solid. I mean, we probably could switch out one or two a little more for a little more height, but I think we could win with this squad. I just think we just gotta have solid, consistent shooters and defenders to play in Tibbs' system. You know what I mean? As far as giving up the three and the drop backs and all of that, and just having that consistent, also a center that could also shoot. But I just like how it is, right? I think those two those two positions, in my opinion, could definitely have Randall and Brunson lead us to Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah.
That third person, in my opinion, like Ajay say, would have to be on the star level, though.
No, he wouldn't have to. That's what I'm saying. It could be a high level role end player. You know
Like,
what I mean?
for example, give me a type. Just not. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get that player, but just give me an example so I can understand the level of player.
All right. Give me everybody. Mikal Bridges. We get Mikal Bridges at that small forward end.
And you think we're a championship contending team just adding Mikal Bridges?
No, I know. I said that's just one. That's a small forward now. Now we need a sniper, a shooter now. See if we could get a shooter that could go alongside Brunson that's big enough so when they try to switch, you know what I mean, it's still gonna be problems. So once you could get a shooter, let's say Malik Monk, just to say, right? He's a shooting guard. He's explosive. He could defend. You know, what I mean, he could, on a switch. You know, and we got Bronson. It's a dangerous combination right there. That's just us.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah,
I
those are big
think,
upgrades though. Yeah. So I get it. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. I would actually like to see that. If we
yeah,
can if we
yeah,
can if
man.
we can pull that off,
I'm,
I would
I'm,
like to see it.
I'm telling you. So yes, I think once we got those two, man, what I mean, we surround those guys with shooters and defenders. What I mean, we good to go because we weak on the perimeter. Tell the truth, we weak on the perimeter. What I mean, it's not that good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So once we solidify that, I'm not. Defense has been good, but his offense has been inconsistent. I don't want to say suck because that's what I mean. I kind of I don't
Right.
want to bash the kid too much, but he's been very inconsistent. You know what I mean? And not just us as Knick fans, but it's other people that see it. You know what I mean? You got people like Stephen A. because he had 18. Let him do it again in the second half. You know what I mean? And he only had what, 3 points?
3.
You know what I mean? So they ain't lying. It gotta be consistency from game in to game out. We understand one night you ain't gonna have it every night, but it can be 4 and 5 nights before we get a good game out of you, bro.
Right. All right. All right. Right. All right. I don't want it to be an art. we
No,
revert, revert it back to revert it back to RJ Barrett. Lady and the Chef, just your thoughts on and the reason I asked because somebody in the chat made a good point. There's only like 4 or 5 superstars in the league. So what are we saying? If we don't get one of those 4 or 5, we can't be content. He mentioned Embiid, Giannis, Tatum,
Yo,
and
Jokic.
the Joker. So are we saying, if you don't have one of those, it's going to be hard to put together a contending team? Some people believe that. I don't know if I believe that. But again, if you don't have those top players, you got to be stronger. Like your third and fourth and fifth options have to be really strong. Lady in the Chef, just your thoughts on the
Mm-hmm.
whole topic.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the Knicks necessarily need a superstar, but I think that they do need a solid. We're too wing heavy, and right now we're not tall enough. When I watch us play a lot of other teams, the Knicks lack in that size, and really all we had was Mitch. But I don't think that necessarily you need a superstar. I think putting the right, I would say we need a good 4 guys in total. So I would say 2 extra really good, solid guys on the team who can back up and play alongside to the same level of Randall and Brunson in games, and who's going to bring that consistency. I think that's what the Knicks need. But my question to the panel is, and I'm not trying to chime in and do you stuff, but
No, no, no. It's
I'm
fine.
really curious.
That's fine. It's fine.
I'm hearing this, but my thing is, okay, you get those players in place, right? We get those better players, but my thing is, are the Knicks going to be a better team under Tibbs with those better players? Or are we still, because my issue is, like Staffa said, we're horrible defensively. As Steph would say, it's a hot mess. And we don't guard the perimeter. I mean, it's just, I think that if we get those players in, is Tibbs going to change the team and they're going to be a better team with the better players alongside Randall and Brunson? Are we going to see the same things, the inconsistencies, or maybe not inconsistencies, but maybe the Knicks are, losing by a couple of points and, we're just missing a mark to get that W at the end of the night. And I'm talking about throughout an entire 82-game season. So that's one of the things that I wonder if, okay, the Knicks do get those 2, 3 really good players in and we swap out, get rid of some of the dead weight under Tibbs, are we going to be that good team under him? And is Tibbs going to, because Tibbs has this old school style of coaching. He doesn't take risk. He likes to stick to his 8-9 man, and maybe that will work with those better players. But will that show? Because right now, Tibbs preaches defense, but as you would say, Steph, that looks good on paper. But when I'm watching the games, it doesn't show and reflect when the Knicks are playing defensively. So that's one of the things that I really wonder, that if the Knicks actually got in like 2 solid, maybe that third extra guy to play alongside Randall and Brunson, are they going to be good or better with Tibbs as the head coach, or do we need to switch coaches also?
Well,
You
I'm
know?
gonna jump in there, Chef. A player that I believe could be had, which would be an upgrade over RJ, and would be a Tibbs type of player, is Jeremy Grant, Portland Trailblazers. 6'7", small forward. He's shooting good from the field. He's shooting good from three. We know he plays very solid defense. I think he's more of a Tibbs player than RJ is, for sure. For sure. No questions asked. And you can maybe even look to get Robert Williams. And now you got somebody that can play your backup four and can play your backup center as well. That's a deal I'm looking to get on the phone and try to make some things happen. We know Robert Williams also plays D. He blocks shots. We've seen him up close and personal with the Celtics. We know what he brings. And Jeremy Grant is only a few years older than RJ. So we're not talking about getting somebody that's on their last leg and all of that. He's only making a couple of dollars more than RJ. Contracts are pretty much the same. And like, if I had to bet who's going to be better over the next 3-4 years, I'm going to bet on Jeremy Grant over RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
But I think her question is basically, is the coach holding us back? Whereas even if we were to get an upgrade in players,
Well, that's why I said, but that's why I said, Steph, I think that Jeremy Grant is more of a Tibbs player than RJ Barrett is. That's what I'm referring to by, I think that a player like that and a player like Robert Williams, I mean, Robert Williams is a dog out there. Like, he plays hard out there. Like, I mean, he gave the Knicks the business on plenty of occasions. So I think those two players, I'm on the phone. Like, I like DeRozan. I'd love to have him. But if I'm looking at DeMar DeRozan and Andre Drummond versus Jeremy Grant and Robert Williams, I'm making a trade for the latter. And I think that, Williams is under contract for a couple more seasons too. Now if you have to decide about bringing Hartenstein back, now you've got Williams that could be your backup center if Mitch is healthy and he returns. So it provides some flexibility as well. And I think long term is a good move and short term.
okay.
Can I just say something real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
We don't know, Lady in the Chef. If we don't get those players, we don't know if it's the coach or not. You
Exactly.
understand what I'm saying? So basically, is up to the front office to get these players. Now, once we get those players, and Tibbs has them, and he can't do nothing, then we can say, you know what, Tom got to go. But for right now, we don't know.
And when Josh Hart came to the team last year, the team got better.
So
Yeah, I do think the coach does make a difference, but a lot of times if you have a players, they make a coach look really good. You know what I mean? They complaining about Steve Kerr now. If you go to Reddit, they complaining about Steve Kerr. He's a great coach. But he had great players. Look at the players. They're aging. They're getting older, and now the team is not doing as well. So you're right. We don't know, but I would love to see Tibbs because I think what he's trying to do on offense, it's not really working. I shouldn't say it doesn't consistently look good because of the players we have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was watching Golden State, they did the same dribble handoff around the top, but the issue is they make the extra pass and they have players who can shoot the ball. And the Knicks, when you have Brunson, Randall, RJ, Quick, sometimes the offense is going to look beautiful because they're making that extra pass and we're hitting shots. And sometimes it's not because this is the day they decided they're not passing. You know what I mean? So I think that's why sometimes our offense look great. Same offense, same coach. How come some days it looks great and it looks good and other days it doesn't? Ajay, you wanted to say something?
No, I
And then
actually, Staffer said exactly what I was gonna say. You got the only way to find. No, really, he did. That's why I was shaking my head because the only way to find out is actually pull the trigger, make a move, and find out. And Queen, you said sometimes players make a coach look good, but sometimes players expose a coach's inability to coach as well.
No doubt about it.
Because sometimes you look at coaches, you look at Vogel, for instance, like you're like, wait a minute, can he really coach? Because he's like he looks a little lost. I like, what are they doing out there?
Under 500.
What are they like? I mean, it's a sometimes you look at it, you're like, well, why aren't they doing better? Even when he was with the Lakers, they won a championship, and then the following year, you're like, wait a minute, the coach not on his game because they almost had no direction the following year. They didn't know what they were doing. They were all over the place. So sometimes the players can expose the coach's weakness.
But I think that next year, though, the front office brought in Westbrook, who really didn't fit with that team, and because this is what I'm saying. Sometimes you're a good coach and sometimes you're not. Like Monty Williams with Phoenix. Oh, it's just great. He's just doing great. Now he's with Detroit. They lost 27 straight. Is he not a good coach? You know what I mean? Is he not a good coach now?
Into the record books.
Is not a good coach now?
28. They just lost to the Nets.
Okay, 28. So Steve Kerr is not a good coach because they're losing. So that's what it is. Your team win, you're a good coach. You don't have the players, you lose. Now you're back. Like it's the same coach, like I don't know. Anyway, Jeff, you wanted to say something?
Well, it's interesting because I'm pretty sure that the win over Milwaukee tied Tom Thibodeau with Hubie Brown for 5th most wins as a Knicks coach all time. And so the I think the 4 ahead of him are Red Holzman is 1. You've got Jeff Van Gundy and Pat Riley and maybe who's the 4th one? I'm trying to think. That's it.
The Knicks?
Yes, all time. But I know he's top 5. He just tied him for 5th. So in other words, he's one of the most successful coaches in Knicks franchise history. It may be the guy who's coaching Indiana now. Maybe 4th.
Mike Carlisle?
No, the college team. Can't think of his Woody. Might be Mike Woodson. He might be. I'm not sure if he's but the point of the matter is, this is a franchise that's recycled a lot of head coaches over the years. And, is Thibodeau a perfect head coach? By no means, but he's a really good one. And I think if you get him that type of player that we're talking about, I think he's going to find a way to work with that player and make the team work. Because if you give a good coach good players, they're going to perform. And I think that you can make the argument that for most of Thibodeau's tenure, this team has kind of overperformed their talent. And so I think if you give them better talent and he does an equally good job, you're going to see an even bigger increase. And maybe I'm just in Thibodeau's corner and just a Thibodeau homer. But, when you've got a guy who's top 5 on your all-time wins list as far as coaches is concerned, I don't think you just run that guy off without legitimate, reason. I like he's really done a poor job. And right now we're 17-12. We're doing well. Our role players are doing what role players do. I think that's the reason why they're role players, right? I think guys who are consistently good are usually considered more than just role players. You know, sometimes role players are really good and you look great, and then other times role players aren't so good and you don't, you know, look as good. But what I'll say about the Knicks and Thibodeau is he gives us a baseline of competence that hasn't been there for most of this century. And so, you know, are the defensive issues frustrating? For me, absolutely. But I think maybe it's a situation too, like Queen talks about it. I don't know this for sure, but I trust her opinion on it. Maybe the game is changing a little bit. Maybe you don't have to have a top 5 defense in order to be a championship team nowadays. And if that's the case, well, he's coaching an offense that doesn't have a lot of great shooters that's performing in the top 10 capacity. That's pretty imaginative and impressive as far as I'm concerned. So, and again, I confess I'm in Tom Thibodeau's corner. So if you want to call me an apologist or whatever, I'll take that, absolutely. But I think, you know, I don't think you look to replace him unless you really consider that he's doing a bad job. And with this team so far, I mean, he's 4-2 on the stretch of games against teams over 500. So, you know, and it doesn't get any easier tomorrow night in OKC and then at Indiana and Orlando, Minnesota. Yeah. Do we need to go 2-2 or better in that stretch? Yeah. But I mean, every time I think, well, they have to do that, they tend to do that. And so, you know, it's a long season. There are going to be, even good teams in a long season are going to have stretches where they play poorly. I mean, that's just, it's an 82 game season. It's a grind. There are going to be times that happens. But I mean, you think about, he lost the guy who was the anchor to his defense, and the team had a couple of games where they maybe stumbled. But after that, they just picked up the pace and started, you know, giving teams the business. I don't think teams really want to play the Knicks. I think that's a game on the schedule. They're like, oh man, we got to play the Knicks. That's not, you know, we might get a win, but that's not going to be a fun night because, you know, look at that Laker game. We punched each other in the mouth. That was a tough physical brawl. I mean, the Lakers knew we were there, and they felt that they played a basketball game. And we, you know, Julius Randle had stitches and the whole thing. I mean, it felt kind of like a 90s game, but I think that's a little bit what this team is. You know, the defense hasn't been great, but can it improve? Sure. Getting a couple better wing defenders in here would certainly help. And maybe one of those players that you're talking about, lady, is a wing defender. You know, maybe one of them is a really good offensive player, and the other player maybe was like Stafford was talking about. Maybe it's a combination of two players that bring those things to the table. I don't know. Maybe a lockdown defender and Donovan Mitchell. Who knows? I don't know what the correct formula is, but it's not easy to put together a championship team. I mean, we sit here and talk about like that it's just some, you know, it's like building a Lego set. Well, it's, you know, it's not, you know, there are pitfalls along the way. You've got to be fortunate. You got to be healthy. You know, you can get players you think are the right players in. And I mean, look at Phoenix. Phoenix thought that they were primed for a finals run, and now it sounds like Kevin Durant's wanting asked out again. And so, you know, and he's probably one of the 10 best players on the planet. I'm just saying that, you know, and you look at their talent on paper and you're like, wow, that's a super talented roster. You look at that talent next to the Knicks and you're like, whoa, they've got a lot more talent than the Knicks. You look at their record, we've got a better record than they are. If you go by the Bill Parcells method, you are what your record says you are. We're a better team than they are.
Right. I will.
Let me say this one real quick.
Mm-hmm.
When we looked at our schedule in December, no, a lot of people say we ain't gonna survive. We 6-5 in December, and we still got 3 more hard games to go. So I mean, you don't want to give Thomas his credit. You got to give that man his flowers, man. You know what I mean? You got to give him his flowers. Go ahead, Queen.
I will say that we talk about Tom Thibodeau as a defensive coach, the Knicks haven't been a really good defensive team in 2 years. And we get on Tom Thibodeau about the offense, but the Knicks have been top 10 in offense the past 2 years. Now, we've done it with poor shooting, but that says a lot too for a coach to know the limitations of a team. We don't shoot well and come up with a formula. All right. Well, offensively, in order for us to win, we don't shoot well. We're going to have to get to the line. We're going to have to make sure we don't turn the ball over. We're going to have to take more threes. Even though we don't hit them at a high percentage, we got to get enough of those up. And to be able to look at a team and put a formula in place for this particular team that doesn't shoot well. Now, this is chip talk, though. You're going to need to get some shooters. You're going to need to get some shooters. I don't think you need to have a top 10 defense. I think, the better your offense is, the less better, for lack of a better word, your defense need to be, right? You got a top 2 offense. Do you need to be a top 10 defense? Probably, probably not.
You can make it in the middle somewhere.
It would be good if you can be in the middle somewhere. I'm concerned about the Knicks, the Knicks shooting, but in all fairness, if you got good offensive rebounding, right, that, because your shots can go south, and so if you're a good rebounding team, offensive rebounding team, you can extend possessions. That should help. But the bottom line is the Knicks, if you're not going to get a superstar, we're going to need a better supporting cast. That's just the line.
I didn't really get a chance to respond to that. So someone had mentioned, I think it was the villain mentioned Miami. Like somehow Miami always manages to have bench players that far exceed what it looks like you would expect that they would be doing. Players that leave that team and don't really play as good when they go to other teams. You know what I mean? So that says to me there's something about their house, their coaching, and what they do to maximize the potential of the players. So it is there that I could understand where, while I am a Tibbs supporter, it is there where I can definitely understand is Tibbs getting the best and the most out of his players, because I look at like the Miami Heat culture, and I look at them and I'm like, all right, well, if you took this entire Knicks roster and you gave it to the Miami Heat, would the players that are on the bench be playing better? Would they be more consistent? Would they be more reliable? Would they play better defense? Would they shoot better percentages? You know what I mean? And, it's hard for me to give that a no, because Miami Heat culture has been proven. Like these guys like Vincent, Strus, Duncan Robinson comes and plays like an All-NBA player in the playoffs last year. Like they find ways to get, like you said, guys from Sunrise Highway and just throw them out there, and they manage to like play, above where you would expect and where they play when they go other places. So, Brunson, Randall, super solid, and I think there is room to coach the bench players up to perform better.
Listen, I think the whole Miami narrative is a bit overrated, because they've had years when they've had players who did not rise to the occasion, but lately they have been. I think that's a bit overrated. I think we only remember when they do it, and we don't remember the seasons when they don't.
They've done it for a lot more seasons than they haven't, though. I mean, all the way down from Mario Chalmers, to Udonis Haslem. I mean, like you got guys that are over exceeding for years.
That's why I don't understand why the Raptors try to break into our coffers. They need to find out what Miami doing over there. They need to hire somebody from that organization and find out what magical potion or they drinking over there that they performing like that. Not the Knicks.
I'm not going to get down on our culture of what one team is doing because 29 other teams ain't doing that either, or 28 other teams aren't doing that either.
Golden State's doing it. They got this guy with the 57th pick. He was almost Mr. Irrelevant. This guy's
Where's Golden State right now?
no. I'm just talking about the performance of the player, though. Not the whole team, but taking players that like we could have had this guy. We need a backup power forward. We could have had that guy.
But people are saying the same thing about about quickly. You're gonna. I mean, okay, I hear you. I hear you.
But we got quickly though.
But what I'm saying is, you're gonna always have players that you draft who exceed expectations, and players who don't on any team. Everybody's talking about Golden State now. What about Golden State all the years before? When they draft players that didn't amount to much.
Wiseman, Kuminga.
Well, Kuminga's doing all right.
Yeah.
Kuminga's doing all right.
About the kid in Portland too. All that hype when he was in the G League, he ain't really making that noise right now.
I mean, give him time. It's been like 30 games.
I mean, look, Chet been out for a whole year. He's a rookie this year. He's making noise. I mean,
I think it's tough for a point guard, though. I think the point guard position is a little bit different than and he's got a much better team in OKC. I mean, OKC's third in the West, and they were a pretty good team without Holmgren last year. So I don't think I don't know that that's necessarily fair to Scoot, but I'm not saying Scoot's played great or that he's the next coming either. I haven't watched him a game this year, so I have no idea what he's doing. But I'm just saying that I think we've seen here that when you got young players who are trying to learn how to run a team and how to quarterback a team, I think playing point guard is as a rookie is a little bit tougher than other positions. I'll just say that.
Hey, listen, Scoot's roots is from Long Island, so I'm not gonna let y'all talk about my man Scoot too hard.
Give him time. Give him time.
Out the boot knocker, exit 19. Hempstead, what up?
Knicks 5-3 since Mitch went down. Surprised? Like, were you one who just felt like the Knicks wouldn't survive? What are your thoughts now compared to what you thought would happen when he went down? DJ Shuttle, Lady and the Chef.
I as you know, I was a Hartenstein supporter since they brought him in. For me, he kind of underachieved last year, but even though he was playing off the bench, I thought he had a much stronger start to the season this year. So I was confident the offense would do better. I was worried, shot blocking, defense from the bench, especially, when he came out of the games. And now with Jericho Sims being out a couple of games, I am a little surprised that the defense has performed well over this past couple of games. But overall, I think he's an addition to the offense, spreading the ball around, better passing, more of an offensive threat. So, I thought that there was room for it to actually be an improvement for the team.
Okay. Lady and the Chef.
Yeah, same. I don't think I was concerned or, necessarily underestimated the Knicks. I was a little like, because we lacked the height and Mitch's presence overall. But, I think they've done a good job. I think Hartenstein has done a great job rebounding. He's been averaging at least like 3 blocks a game, getting double doubles minus maybe 1 or 2 of the games. But and then I like the other guys stepping in to help out on the rebounds besides Randall. Like, I don't think the team should just rely on Randall just to be the backup rebounder. I like that other guys are stepping in and grabbing loose balls and rebounds and helping out on the boards. But yeah, I think so far, but I do think that, we need Hartenstein to stay healthy. And I think that Sims, I think Jarrell was saying, and I had mentioned this on our podcast the other day, how he was saying that he don't feel like Sims should be in the league, and I actually agree with him on that. I don't think Sims like Grimes. I don't think he's ready. I'm sorry, he's not. I mean,
No
he's not
apologies needed.
he's just not to that level of where we need guys to be with where this team is trying to go. And when I see Sims on the floor, it gives me Mitch 2.0, not to the level of what Mitch does, but in a sense of he's only good for a lob, a quick dunk, a layup. He sets good screens, but I just think that we either going to need someone to be the starting center and Hartenstein be the backup. And my only concern with Mitch is because Mitch is injury prone. And, he's been like this since we brought him here. So that's one of my biggest concerns with Mitch. I like Mitch, but he's very injury prone. And I think the Knicks need to stay away from signing anyone who's either too old and they're, veteran or someone who's injury prone. But so far, I think they've been doing good. I think we're still under the testing phase for me, especially with this upcoming road trip.
Okay. Okay. Staff?
I mean, when the news first came out, I'm a big Mitch guy. I mean, Money Mitch, that's my guy right there. Shout out to him. Hope he has a speedy recovery. But I was always confident that we will be good with the two guys we had, just based on last year. What Sims was able to come in there. Although he's raw, he's not ready. His pick and roll defense is horrible. I mean, his agility is good. His defense is good, but that pick and roll defense is terrible. He got ate up. So that's one of the things that you see that, that teams was, picking on him on, is that potential. So, the Knicks fans was eating him up in the comments, pause, but, but I feel like, as I was telling Queen and RJ the other day, I think we could have went ahead and get somebody a lot much better than Taj Gibson. Now, don't get me wrong, I respect Taj. He's a good team player, familiarity with Tom Thibodeau's system. He came in a couple few games, what I mean, and gave us quality, good minutes on Giannis yesterday, good defense. What I mean, still has a little jump shot in him, but is not that type of player to give us, you know, 30 minutes a night. Well, overall, you feel me? To go out there and do the things that we need him to do. But shout out to Hardenstein, as I said before early in my comments. What I mean? He has came out there. He's been holding it down since Mitch has been injured. As I said before, I think he leads us in offensive rebounds, third in the league. He's one of the best big men, bench big men in the league. Not only me say it, you had top pundits say it. What I mean? So he's very valuable to us. What I mean? And I hope that we keep him because he's on a last year of his contract. And that's another person that we don't talk about when it comes to contract signing. If we're gonna re-sign Hartenstein, so what I mean, he's very valuable to us right now. But I feel like we should have went ahead and signed somebody else instead of Taj. What I mean, as another capable big man. I've been looking, I've been hearing a lot of suggestions. But I just want to see what the front office gonna do as far as that either the trade deadline or the waiver line. And but so far so good, Queen. We've been doing good. We got, I think we got our rebound yesterday, but as long as we keep doing the effort and everybody keep crashing the glasses and we doing the little small things, the hustle plays, I think we should be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mitch hurts us even more because of the way this roster was constructed. But anyway, Ajay and then Jeff.
So I this when Mitch went down, I reserved my comment or reaction because last year I remember when he went down, I was like, "Oh boy, we're done. The season's over. We don't have Mitch. We're dead in the water." Only, but I think he was out not many games. I can't remember how many games he was out, but we had a
17. I wanted something like that.
15, 17, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
But we had a winning record when he was out. I was like, and this year I was like, you know what? Let me just wait and see what's going to happen. I mean, granted, it's not the same thing. The league knows where we have a size issue when it comes to those guys, but we don't have a rebounding problem. So, in Mitch, his top thing, the thing he's best at is rebounding. So we have other guys who can fill in that spot. This we if we get out rebounded, but we keep getting wins, we keep getting W's. I'm okay with that. I don't care about the rebounding stats. Like Stafford said, we winning those 50-50 balls. We do the hustle plays. If everything translates into a dub, I'm good with it. Listen, I didn't jump out the window because I'm like, let's wait and see how the team adjusts without Mitch. We played a couple of big teams and we fared pretty well. And listen, some of the sequences look weird. Like it looked funny seeing Josh Hart trying to guard Bobby Portis.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm watching the game. I'm like, what was he gonna do? But in the end, we got the dub. Yeah, let's just wait and see. You know,
Yeah, I hear you. Like the net positive thing. Oh, Jeff, go ahead.
Well, I just kind of felt like Hartenstein would be able to keep us afloat. I really like Isaiah. I think he does a good job. What has impressed me actually, though, is I feel like the other players besides Hartenstein have really started to play better defensively. It's almost like they realize, oh, the safety net is gone. We've got to pick up our game, and you didn't really see that in the first couple of games in LA. But the LA game, the Laker game, I mean, is one where it kind of started to turn around, and people started to take more ownership of being felt by the opponent. And so, the first Milwaukee game was a disaster too. But for the most part, I think everybody's kind of taking more ownership of their defensive assignments, and you kind of see, and that's what it's going to take, because there's not anybody back there. There's not a last line of defense there to protect you. There's not any intimidation in there. And Isaiah Hartenstein's not a bad shot blocker, but he's not the same rim protector. He doesn't have the same defensive presence that Mitchell Robinson does, which is fine because they're playing well without him. I still think we need to find. I don't think Taj Gibson is a long-term answer for the balance of the season. I don't think Jericho Sims is either. I think we need to find somebody who's a veteran who can actually give us consistent 18 minutes per game, 20 minutes per game off the bench, or more than that if Hartenstein gets into foul trouble, which I saw a comment that he kind of picks up some silly fouls sometimes, and I think we've seen that, and I kind of agree with that. So I do think if Hartenstein's playing 34 35 minutes a night, I think we're fine. It's on those nights where he gets into foul trouble, I really feel like we need something more than Taj and Jericho to fill in. I mean, we had that depth there with when Sims was like very situational. I felt really good. Now that he's rotational, I feel less good. So I kind of want to get it back where he's situational again. And I don't think Gibson is that,
Right.
And so I do think we need to find somebody else. But Hartenstein is a capable starting five. I'll say that.
Yeah, for me, I'm enjoying this moment because I want to see what the Knicks offense can look like when every player on the court is a threat. Um, I'm not opposed to Hartenstein remaining the starter. However, you would need to rework the perimeter defense because I think if Hartenstein is your starter, he's not, like you said, Jeff, he's not that interior defender or intimidator that Mitchell Robinson is. So your 2 and your 3 have to be able to defend the perimeter. And so if you have a center like Hartenstein, you got to retool your roster a little bit. But offensively, right now, we're sixth offensively over the last 8 games, 21st defensively, but we're sixth offensively. And I think this is an offense that will fare a little better in the playoffs than the offense that went to the playoffs last year. Now, well, our defense was either 1 or 2 through 2 rounds last year. That's a different story. Um, but I'm just interested in watching this for the rest of the season and just getting a sense, whether it's Hartenstein or not. Who knows if Hartenstein returns? Just what's possible for the Knicks offense with a center who's a threat and with a 2 guard who's a threat, right? Because now we got DiVincenzo. You got to pay attention to him. So we'll see, but I agree. Our defense would need to we need to retool some things to have an offensive minded center that doesn't have the presence of Mitch. But I will say this: other teams are winning without a center like Mitch, and we got to figure out what are they doing, how are they constructing their teams so that they're winning without a center like Mitch. And by winning, regular season winning. I don't. Well, listen. Well, I was going to bring up Denver, but they got an otherworldly offensive
Joker makes a little. He changes the
offensive
equation.
center.
Little difference.
Your defense don't need to be great when you got a center like the Joker. Anything else about the Knicks over these past 8 games that you're encouraged by or concerned with? The Knicks
Did
are 10th in pace, by the way, over the last 8 games.
did you guys notice that IQ don't bring up the ball anymore?
Mhm. Oh, that DiVincenzo brings it up.
Or even Josh Hart. If Josh Hart or DiVincenzo's on the floor, they don't want bringing up the ball. Or of course Jalen Brunson.
Right. But
Emmanuel
what what
quickly.
what do you think that's about?
I don't know.
I, I think
He gives it up.
I think that it's about I think that it's about them initiating the offense, and because he's the best scorer a lot of times
Correct.
on the court, then they just, instead of him bringing it up and having to just go one on whatever, they let somebody else bring it up, let him run around a little bit and get the ball ready to catch it and make an offensive move.
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
I
I
would.
re- to
Yeah,
to
sometimes
Shuttle's point,
we play off ball. You know what I mean?
I really like Hart getting the rebound and he and quickly just take off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. You see them Hart get the rebound and they're just kind of in step with one another and they're just looking to attack and I like that and quickly's good off the ball. So I think that that and frankly it prevents. I think one of the biggest quickly criticisms is his tendency to pound the rock a little bit too much. Well, if you're using him as the off ball guy who's more of a catch and shoot threat, which he does well, then that mitigates that for folks who are concerned about. That's not really a concern of mine, but I know for those who are concerned about the aesthetic of pounding the ball, that seems to alleviate that issue a little bit.
Yeah. For sure. Anything else on that before we move on to the Becky Hammond statement? And I want to get DeJounte Murray in there really quick.
I just feel like I don't know if it's a coaching thing, but I feel like Hartenstein is kind of holding back on his game offensively. There's plenty of times I see him catch the ball in the paint. And, a lot of times if you're listening, especially when Clyde commentates, he'll be like, turn and look at the basket. He'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know why guys do that. They turn and look towards the 3-point line in the perimeter. And I'll look and I'm like, why does Hartenstein do that? Last season, he used to do those little floaters. This season, he's
Mm-hmm.
not even doing that. I'm like, damn, if you're not going to give us a 3-point shot, but at least give us the floater. So I don't know if
Right.
that's because they want him to play more of that role that Mitch was playing, or if that's just him. But I'm like, you can't go back from what you showed us you can do. You know what I mean? And he
Right.
can be a threat if you put that ball up more. And the same thing with DiVincenzo. Your skill set is there more so than a player like Grimes. I don't know what it is with him with the streakiness, where one game you give us 23, 25, and the other game I look down and you only have 3 points or 7 points.
Man,
You know, so
he made me lose money yesterday. DiVincenzo.
How many
But
shots
then,
did he
but
take
then
yesterday?
I don't know,
Hartenstein,
he had 3 points, man. I'm like,
yeah, 3 points.
I took the over on 9.5 points, man. This guy had 3 points. I was like,
How
man,
many shots did he take? Do you remember?
who knows? Maybe two,
No,
three
I gotta
shots. Not a
look.
lot.
But to see,
but
that's
look,
the well. I have a question for Lady and the Chef. Do you think Hartenstein is doing that because of the role that he's playing? Like he's in the starting unit now with three ball dominant players. Do you think he's just taking a step back and just realizing that my role is more to facilitate with the starting unit?
I think it's a little bit of half and half. I think it's the role. And then I just think that I don't think it's a lack of confidence thing there, but I think it's the role he's trying to play that he's implemented in playing now, being that, initially he thought he was just covering Mitch's spot. But now I just see, and there's plenty of games where, they're leaving him open because they know he's not even going to take, that mid-range shot or that corner pocket by the free throw line shot or just a floater, and he's looking to pass. And a lot of times I will give it to him in that when he is making that extra pass and then he'll make a screen for someone, guys are knocking down a shot.
Mhm.
But I would like to see him, let's try to get that easy basket and not just settle for the three, or making those extra passes sometimes when you're right near the basket
Right.
and you can just put up the ball. So I don't know if it's hit in his role or if it's also, Tibbs telling him, no, I just want you to do a little bit of this. Because even before when he initially came here, when we were watching film, I remember Sims was playing his tape when he was on the Clippers. I said, oh wow, he could shoot the three, he could give you, he gets to the Knicks and I'm like, what happened? You're dried up. You're not giving us what you was giving on the other team. So
Right.
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. There's definitely more possibility. I just think on that first unit, if you playing with them, Hartenstein or DiVincenzo, just get used to it.
Yeah.
Some games you're gonna get the ball, you're gonna get 10 shots, 5 shots, 8 shots, and there's some games where you're getting 2 and 3 shots playing with those guys. It just depends. It just
But
depends because
I think Lady and the Chef is saying even when they get those shots to the point where they're not
looking
even looking to
understood.
they're looking to pass.
Yeah.
And that's a good point because they've under the basket and passing out to the 3 point line.
Yeah,
what,
DiVincenzo
what,
too. One time, the other day, he was right underneath them. I said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think it all depends on the play because enough times I see Hartenstein get the ball and he goes back up, even if it's a put back dunk. So I think it all depends on the play, and I have to agree with Lady in the Chef too, as far as expanding his game because we was talking about that the last time too, Queen, as far as him shooting the three. And I think he needs to start shooting that three because he could stretch the flow. We was talking about I think it was the beginning of the season where he comes in and he's just a different dynamic with the second unit because he could stretch the floor, he could shoot. I think we was talking about Tom Thibodeau doesn't use his player skills as much to his capability, and that's one of the things that I don't see Tom doing with Hartenstein a lot. But as far as that push shot and that jump shot, I see him do it a couple of times, but I think it all depends on the play and where he's at on the court. You know what I mean? To probably to get a better shot, like he was saying late in the shot. You know what I mean? Get that extra pass. But he does go up. In my opinion, I see a lot. I don't think he not necessarily wants to pass the ball out, but he puts it up when he can and gets some and ones most of the times. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they drive and they hand it to him right underneath the basket, if he gets an offensive rebound, yes, he's gonna dunk. But when he's not in that dunker spot, he probably is passing more than usual. I just think when you playing with those guys, you already know when you play on certain teams, you step on the court and you could calculate what your role is going to be. Nobody nobody is going to have to tell you. You just step on the court, you look around, you be like, okay, I know I'm rebounded today. So I think that's more of what it is. All right, let's.
I think as the tougher games happen, and putting the optimism you were giving last week, and we're gonna just say playoff season. Okay, when you get to the playoffs and you're playing teams that are tougher, that play tougher defense, and they're playing your top players where they're not going to be getting their shots as easy. There's going to be a time and place now where you're going to have to step up. So I would like to hope and believe iHeart, sees when those times occur that, he does look to be a little bit more assertive and aggressive with his own shots.
Him, RJ, Hart. I mean, we've been talking regular season, but absolutely when you get in the playoffs, Brunson and Randall are going to get a lot of attention. And what are the others going to do? All right. Thoughts on Becky Hammond. So, she was basically giving her opinion on the Knicks overall. And basically saying that the Knicks don't have a 1A star. They don't have that dude. And basically, if they're going to make some noise in the Eastern Conference, they're going to have to get that dude. I don't know if I disagree with her. I don't think the Knicks even disagree, right? Because the Knicks are out there looking, looking for a star. And then Kendrick Perkins, who's very high on Brunson, has been high on Brunson since he's gotten to New York, believes he is that 1A. And basically she said, I don't know if she said anything about Brunson particularly, but in general, you cannot win when your best player is, undersized guard, with the exception of Curry. And she forgot to mention Isaiah, Isaiah
Dumars.
Thomas. Excuse me?
And yeah, Isaiah Thomas and
Isaiah Thomas.
Dumars.
I mean, I will quickly just say this, and then I'll hand it over to you. Just because it hasn't been done or it hasn't been done a lot doesn't mean it can't be done.
Exactly.
I mean, that's my only thing. And I don't think Brunson has reached his ceiling. I'm not ready to say he can be the best player on a championship team. And I'm a huge Brunson fan. I'm not ready to say that just yet. But I will say that he hasn't reached his ceiling. And I will say, when you look at these superstars, and I believe he's a star. I really do believe he's a star. When you look at these superstars, what do they have? Basically, you could put the ball in their hand and say, "Get me a bucket when you need a bucket." And the entire team knows where that player's spot is and what they're trying to do, and you can't stop it. And that's looking like Brunson to me. I mean, so if he's not there yet, he is on his way. He gave Miami. Everybody talk about Spoelstra and Miami defense and all of that. The business without a lot of help.
He gave him the heat.
Without a lot of help, with inconsistent help from game to game. Now you can argue, that was just one time. We've seen players have really good playoff series. He also did it to a lesser extent, and by I say to a lesser extent, for a few games when he was with Dallas versus Utah, gave them the business when Luka Doncic was out. So I think he's trending in that direction. I'm not willing to say he's there right now. Confidently say, yeah, he could be the best player on a championship contending team. I'm not there yet, but I see him trending in that direction. He hasn't reached his ceiling. But just your thoughts on her comments overall, And just in general, can you have an undecided? Can Brunson be the best player on the championship contending team? Stafford, we'll start with you, Jeff, and we'll go.
Becky. I mean, I just think it was just uncalled for, basically. You know what I mean? How much disrespect this kid gonna get? It's like every time he gotta go out there and prove himself, you know, drop 50 on KD head, give the Bucks how many 30-point games, how much times he put Donovan Mitchell out of his misery in Utah.
And Cleveland.
I mean, went to the Western Conference Finals with Luka, had signature games without Luka. I mean, how many times you gonna disrespect the kid? The man got heart. He got heart. And I think that's all that matters is heart. The man got heart. How much of these players out there got heart? None. You know what I mean? The man came in here, he signed with New York. They said that how we gave him too much money. He exceeding that money now. You know what I mean? And I gotta agree with you, Queen. He hasn't even reached his ceiling yet. And when he do reach his ceiling, God knows what else is gonna come out of his bag because his footwork is impeccable. His moves, he got people on skates. You bringing 6-7 defenders on him, and he's making them look stupid. So I mean, shout out to Perk, man. Shout out to Perk. The only guy that I see on TV is actually giving us a chance. Not even your homeboy Stephen A. You know what I mean? And he's supposed to be this big quote unquote Knick fan. But he didn't even pick us to win. But pick a Boston Celtic fan or a player who used to play in the NBA pick us. How that look, Stephen A?
But
how that look now, Becky?
But it's one game, Stafford.
No, I know it's one game, but we're talking about Bronson and how much disrespect can the kid get? He has proven time and time again, and he still can't get this. Even Gilbert Arenas is dissing him. I mean, come on, stop it, stop. Go ahead, lady in the chef.
Stafford, just take a sip, relax.
It's Jeff's turn. I'm like, it's not even my turn.
No, it is.
Well, you can go if you want to. But it just seems like she don't watch Jalen Brunson very much. I mean, I know that's a national media narrative or whatever, but look, okay, so he's not the Joker and he's not Embiid and he's not Giannis. I'll grant you that, okay? But, what has Tatum done that's so much better than Brunson? And you can argue that Tatum's had a lot better teams around him, a lot better talent around him than what Jalen's had. So, I mean, Jalen can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. You're talking about a guy who can get a bucket. You don't think Brunson can get a bucket? I mean, the guy, his shooting percentages are off the charts, and he's 6'2". I think that makes him even larger than life. I mean, if you look at his numbers compared to Dalla Dame, who everybody universally loves, nobody questions him for a minute. He's outplayed Lillard when they've played this year. So, I mean, is he a 1A, whatever a 1A is, if that's what you want to your criticism of him to be, that's fine. He's the best. He's one of the two best players on a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference, and he's a problem every night on the scouting sheet. I promise you that. They're trying to figure out what are we going to do to stop this guy, and he can get his shot anytime he wants, even at his size. So what more does he have to do? What is the definition? What threshold does he need to pass? I mean, is he not the 1A until he wins a championship? Does that mean Patrick Ewing wasn't a 1A? I mean, what? In other words, they can always move the goalposts on him. They're good at that. Move the goals. He says, well, he's got to do this. Then he does that. Well, he's got to do this other thing. And then he does that. And then he's like, well, he hasn't done this. Well, let's stop talking about what he hasn't done and let's start talking about the things that he does, because they're pretty incredible. I mean, what this kid can do is incredible, and just appreciate, and shame on New York Knicks fans if we don't get him as a starter in the NBA All-Star game. Y'all drop whatever you're doing right after this. You go out to NBA.com and vote for our guy, Jalen Brunson. We need to get this guy as a starter in the All-Star game. He deserves it. And the best way to show our love and appreciation and support and show all these fools out there on national TV that they don't know what they're talking about, vote for the man. He's going to show out. He's going to prove he's smart. He's cagey. He's wily. He's got heart. He's going to outwork everybody. We know what he can do, but just make the man an all-star.
Yeah. Definitely make him an all-star.
Remember, we could vote every 24 hours.
Every 24 hours you can vote for him and Randall. But I think, do you think she was being disrespectful to Brunson per se? Or go ahead, Joe.
Well, what is she saying then? I just think it's a lazy take. In other words, if I don't think anybody who watches the Knicks is like, yeah, this team is ready to compete for a championship, but that's not because Jalen Brunson isn't excellent at basketball. It's because we have, 2 really good players and then 7 okay players. That's not necessarily a reflection on Brunson. So I just think it's lazy analysis to me from someone who I think is pretty intelligent and usually does a pretty good job. Like, if you're going to talk about the Knicks, like talk about what Jalen Brunson does, because what he does is pretty special. Don't talk about what he isn't. Right. They don't do that with a lot. They don't do that about Donovan Mitchell, and he's outplayed Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs 2 years in a row, and with arguably a better cast of characters around him, and we crushed them in 5 games after Luka-less Dallas did it the year before. I don't see anyone giving Mitchell the same kind of criticism that they're or whatever you want to call it. They don't say, well, he's not a 1A. He'll never win a championship. Your team with Donovan Mitchell can't do it. So if you're not going to do that to Donovan Mitchell, if it's good for the goose, it should be good for the gander. If you're not going to do that to Mitchell, if you're not going to do that to Dame, if you're not going to do that to Jimmy Butler, then leave my guy Jalen Brunson alone.
Thank you. Lady in the show? Oh, yeah. I forgot what order I said.
Random.
Random.
I think they do that. Becky Hammon, first of all, I think she made those comments because she's feeling herself, because the Las Vegas Aces won in New York and Brooklyn. And, she's feeling herself because they just won, even though she did play for the New York Liberty and she did throw herself in the mix and say, oh, I was a short player that got buckets, but it doesn't mean that I was capable of getting my team to the championship, to win a championship. And I know Jarreau has spoken and said, I don't think she was, from his opinion, he doesn't think that she was necessarily going in on Brunson, but more so on the Knicks. And I think the reason why, to kind of piggyback off of the ending of what Jeff was saying, was that teams do that to the Knicks is because, and they don't do it to other teams, is because the Knicks are actually doing better than people predicted this season, and as well as with last season. Whereas when you look at Cleveland, I mean, Miami has jumped up on the standings, but like Cleveland, they're not doing the best. You know, they're not going to say that with Brooklyn because they don't have anyone to really speak about. But I think that they do that with the Knicks, especially because aside from just her bringing in Brunson in the mix, is because people take the Knicks as a joke, you know, except for true diehard Knicks fans, where people look at the Knicks as, oh, they're just a team that's a one and done in the first round and they're going to be knocked out. So they don't take the Knicks seriously. And unfortunately, you know, Brunson, and I agree, he hasn't been getting with you, Stafford, so far, what you guys have been saying. Brunson hasn't been getting the respect on his name and what he's been doing. True Knicks fans, we've been saying, oh, we need a true point guard. Well, we have him. Respect what he's doing here. And I think he does have a lot of heart. I agree with you. This guy, I will watch if someone steals the ball from Jalen Brunson. He will sprint down the other end of the court to try to stop that other player. He sacrifices his body and he's taking the offensive charges, which very rare you see a player doing that now in the NBA. I watched a video someone posted of him, and he could have been no older than 12 years old. And his father had him on the court. The mother was recording, and the father had him doing a drill. So he had him running down the court, and he had him doing a pull-up, which we see him doing now, and he's mastered it. And he was tired, and his father said, again. And he came down the court, and he said, no. He said, you got to pop. He said, you got to get it up there. But I said, see, that work paid off. And not to say other players don't do that, but if you look at, like you said, his footwork is immaculate. He even his shoulder movements that he do and the way he's able to get a player off of him. I mean, you got to give it to this guy. He's not the tallest player, but he's crafty, and he does it. It's not sloppy when he's doing his moves to the basket and his play. And I think also his playing like that is infectious on a player like Randall, who sees like, yo, well, let me get busy and go to work too. You know, so I think those two combined, yeah, with the right players like we spoke about earlier around them, the Knicks can go far. I just think Becky Hammond and a lot of people in the league do not respect Jalen Brunson. And I agree, people need to vote this man into the All-Star, you know, and give him his props for what he's been doing to carry this team along with Randall, you know, and it's just unfortunate. And I know they were talking about it early on ESPN radio where they were saying, you know, out of Randall and Brunson, who you think they should vote, who should be voted in, because Randall's already made it. They was like, you know, do you think fans should just really try to, you know, do a push to get Brunson in? And I think they both should be in. But if I had to pick one, I would say let's get Brunson in, because the guy hasn't been in there and he's been, you know, carrying this team. And you can see he has that will. He has that eye of the tiger. The guy's like, yo, I'm trying to bring a championship here. And again, that heart that he has, it's infectious, and it's lit something up in Randall now. And now Randall's like, okay, I'm on board now here too, because there's somebody here who wants it just as bad as I do. You know, maybe he didn't want it as much, but now he's like, yo, I'm on board. So, you know, I don't, it's okay. We'll get Becky next season with the New York Liberty. So she better get out of here with that crap.
I'm gonna let everybody go. She explained her take. I'll screen share it, but I'll let everybody go. Ajay, then DJ Shuttle.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real quick. I mean, Becky Hammond, that was just clickbaiting. You know what I'm saying? That's all it was. Becky Hammond, that was just an opinion, and she's entitled to hers. There's no listen. It's a team sport. It's just silly and kind of sort of unintelligent. Even if history shows you like what she's saying, she's repeating, but you can never tell what that is, because at any given moment you have 4 of the teammates and there are 5 opponents. That changes the whole dynamic. So that cannot be a rule. That cannot be you know, it was just an opinion. It doesn't matter. I'm not losing hair with Becky with the hair's opinion. All right. I'm not doing that. It's just, it's one in one ear, right out the other with me. Whatever. You know, I'm watching the game. Jalen Brunson, he's like the best player. He's the unstoppable player on the court. And that's all that matters to me. If we carry that to the playoff, I think we have a good chance to go far in the playoffs. If he's playing like that, if Randall's playing like that, the other guys show up, we got a pretty good chance.
If the other guys show up, for sure. DJ Shuttle?
Listen, I don't know if I disagree or agree 1,000,000%. I don't even want to talk about that. Becky Hammond, keep my players' names out your mouth. That's it. That's all. I'm gonna leave it with that.
All right. She clarified her statement. Let me see if I can
She was getting a lot of
Yeah,
heat.
she had a little pushback all of a sudden, huh?
A little.
I don't know if she changed it that much, but she just expounded on it. Let me see if I can which one is this?
It's no respect, man. Guy gets no respect at all. Period.
Is it this one?
I bet you're gonna find some excuses telling that he ain't make the All-Star game. Watch. Even if a player get injured, they still gonna stone him again like last year.
Oh,
That's on us then, because we can vote him in.
oh, this one though. All right, so let's share. Let's see what she's
Crazy.
saying here. All right, it's kind of small, but I'll read it. For the record, I love Jalen Brunson's game.
Yeah,
He used to give us/Spurs work when he played with Dallas. I love when undersized players give the league buckets. He's got a great mind and feel for the game. Great mind, great feel. He was passed up in the first round and then got to the league and showed out. He's not a good NBA player. He's a great NBA player. Much respect. He's an all-star and will be an all NBA performer. But I stand by my statement that I can't put him in a LeBron, Steph, Embiid type of 1A tier player. And that if your best player is the smallest player on the court, you in parentheses, probably won't win a championship. This game favors the tall. Wish it didn't, but it does. Hashtag calm down. Hashtag there are exceptions to the rule.
Listen, Iverson took a bum team to the finals. I think he had Mutombo on that team. He
Over
had.
the hill, Mutombo.
Yeah, say that again.
Over the hill, Mutombo.
Give me 1 second. Stafford or whoever, hold it down for me for 1 second.
Aaron McKee. Who else he had on that squad? Dad, what's that point guard name, man? Eric Snow.
Mhm.
Eric Snow. I mean, like Becky, like really, bro.
But that's definitely an exception, though. And if you look at all of the championship teams over the past 30, 40 years, you got Magic's the best player. You got Bird's the best player. You've got Jordan's the best player. You've got Shaq and Kobe the best players. You've got Tim Duncan's the best player. You've got Kawhi's the best player. You've got Joker's the best player. So, Steph Curry is the one exception. I think he's probably a little taller than Brunson, though, but he's such an incredibly lights out shooter that he does something very clear and definitive why you could say and then even he was doubted, and then he had to get KD to win 2 more. So I don't think she's really all the way wrong. You know what I mean? But still keep my players' names out your mouth anyway.
It can happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
but making a statement based on what's already happened is, I mean, listen, I understand why people are coming for her, but again, I don't think she's really all the way crazy based on looking at the facts of what's actually already happened in history. Numbers don't lie.
But why is that the lens that we have to look at Jalen Brunson through? So he's, he's not one of the top 6 players in the league. He hasn't won a championship yet. Like that's
But
There's
you
a
know
lot
what?
of players in the
No,
league
but
that
he goes to the
I don't want
shuttle,
to see
right?
him
What
Yeah,
happens,
compete.
shuttle and stuff.
you know what happens though? You get on a platform like this, and someone says, "Hey Jeff, do you think the Knicks can win with Jalen Brunson being, the point guard, being an undersized point guard?" So it's she might not have been thinking it, but the question gets asked, and she's just giving an answer to the question that they have on the table. The good thing I want to say that we should the takeaway should be at least they're having a conversation about the Knicks and two about actually competing for a championship. They actually thought about the Knicks and competing for a championship and were having a serious conversation about it. So I'm gonna take that as the positive takeaway from that whole conversation.
True.
Villain, what you say? What you say on that, Villain?
No, and that's a good point that there's a positive. But like I said, Becky's opinion is Becky's opinion. It is kind of justified based on what's already happened. But to say that it can't happen is wrong. That's just an opinion. There's no scientific proof of that can't happen. Because like I said, you part of a team. There are 4 other players on your squad, and there's 5 other players you're playing with. You know what I'm saying? If it depends, it's all about matchups. It's all about who your path to the finals, your path through the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Last year we had a very favorable path. Have we gone past Miami? Anything could have happened. But we listen. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So it's not. It's not a definite. It can't happen. She's wrong about that, but she's not wrong about it's rare. It's happened rarely in the past. You know what I'm saying? But you can never tell. There's 10 players. It's a very dynamic game. There are 10 players on the court at any given time. You can't tell which way the cookie's going to crumble. And probability. She's what she's saying probably right, because the chances are it's not going to happen, but it can happen. It's not an impossibility.
Well, she
You know
did
what I'm
say
saying?
probably, or she did say probably, right?
In the cleanup, I think she said probably in the cleanup statement. So
Yeah.
I think you're muted, Queen.
If you're going by her statement, I can't put him in LeBron, Steph, and Embiid type of how 1A. There's tall players that's not in that category. You know what I
99%
mean?
of players not in that category.
So are you saying that if you're not a 1A player, big or small, you're not going to win a championship?
Right.
And we can argue whether LeBron is still 1A, his team's struggling. I mean,
I
I
ain't got time
guess,
for Becky, man.
and Embiid, who he's a superstar, but his teams haven't gotten out of the second round.
he's a big 1A. He's the prototypical Becky Hammond 1A guy.
Yeah.
Look at the Suns right now. Look at the Suns right now. They got 2 1As. And are they even over a 500 team?
Stafford,
Huh.
they got 2 1A and 1A hurt.
Nah.
The A stands for Andrew.
Exactly. So I mean, all that stuff is just overrated at some point in time, man.
But you know what? Until we win a championship, it's fair game.
It's
Yeah,
fair. I mean,
Yeah.
listen,
They're gonna keep saying those things.
and she's not the
That's
only
the only way
one
to set them
that
up
has
is
said
to
it.
win.
Right.
Till you win, she's right. So shut them up and win. That's what we're all waiting for.
All right. Before we get out of here, let's talk about the Knicks reported, or somebody's reporting, that the Knicks are interested in trading for DeJounte Murray. I'm not really interested into the clutch stuff about whether or not he would come here or not. I'm just interested if you think he would be a good fit next to Brunson, and if you think the Knicks would, how much better do you think the Knicks would be?
Before we go, my question is, who's he replacing?
Gotta make your trade up right now. Do a Y2K trade
Um,
right now.
in my opinion, whoever, because other than Brunson and Randall, anybody else can go.
Queen said whoever right now.
Somebody said we don't need him. Okay.
I
So,
I
and he's a
I,
two.
I really wanted him last off season. I really, really, really wanted him last off season.
When we got Brunson, right? Shuttle.
I wanted that to be the backcourt, Brunson and Murray. That's what I really wanted. Um, you know, at this point though, I mean, I don't know. You just signed DiVincenzo. You know what I mean? Are you trading the guy? I mean, we already know this is the Villanova Knicks. You just signed the guy. Are you really gonna trade DiVincenzo right now? Which you likely would need to do to make this happen. I mean, are you gonna put are you gonna put Murray and trade RJ and put Dante and Murray in the lineup together as like your small ball lineup? Eh, that don't really look.
Quickly and Fournier might work money
Yeah, but
wise.
money wise, it'll work, Jeff. But then who? Because see, you unless you get rid of DiVincenzo, he could start at the two because he can't play the three or the four. I don't think he's
Who
too,
is DiVincenzo?
Dante.
the guy we just got.
But so what? I mean,
So,
y'all acting like we got an all-star school guard over there, and
No, there's more to it than basketball. There's a relationship factor in here that you have to consider with this front office.
this
It's
is why
not
the
just
Knicks.
basketball.
This is why we're not winning championships.
I under
Exactly.
This is not we not because we sitting here talking about DiVincenzo.
I did.
I
I
can't.
disagree. I don't disagree
I
with you.
can't.
now, do I personally say hold on to Dante and let that stop a trade? Absolutely not. Do I think Brunson's influence and the camaraderie on the team, do I think those factors would make it something that they won't do? Absolutely.
Okay, fine. Then keep DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo can go to the bench. Listen,
Exactly.
the two player, our two guard on a championship contending team is not on this roster. And as upgraded as our starting lineup is with DiVincenzo, he's not a championship starting two guard, in my opinion. So okay, fine. You want to keep him on the team because he's a friend of Brunson. All right, fine. But we still got enough.
I think so. I think like you maybe you just do Fournier and a bunch of picks, couple of picks.
But the question is, do you think he's a fit? Not the compensation, whatever. Like, do you think he's a fit on the team, or do you feel like we don't need him? Do you feel like we should?
I don't think there's any player on the team that can get 4, 5, 6, 7 steals in the game the way this guy can. I think Tibbs will love this guy. He can be a super streaky shooter. We've seen him go for 30, 40 points. I think he would be more stable than Dante, Grimes, or Quickly as the starting shooting guard. And I think he adds a defense when you need to put all the players that Grimes has been guarding, well, the points in the shooting guards. I think Murray easily qualifies to handles those positions in terms of defending them. So I think he's a Tibbs guy. I think he would seamlessly fall into what Tibbs wants. He's not a selfish player. I think he could fall in line with the rest of the team. And yeah, if you can just trade Fournier and maybe 2 first-round picks, I would be with that.
It might take IQ. I mean, I don't listen. They gave up a lot to get DeJounte Murray. We're not getting him for Fournier and some first round picks.
We're gonna have to get somebody out of here who takes up minutes anyway. In other words, you're gonna have to send a couple people up just to carve out minutes for him. I mean, you're gonna want. In other words, if we're trading for Murray, you want him playing 30 minutes a game.
Yeah,
So that
Grimes.
means,
Yeah, Grimes is on the bench at that point.
Grimes is probably gonna go.
Grimes to go.
Yeah, well,
Grimes is gonna be out of here.
if you trade Fournier though, you don't need to include any money in the deal based on what the numbers are.
What wasn't there a story a couple of the summer we got the offseason we got Brunson? Was there a story that he was kind of pissed off that the Knicks didn't reach out to him, or he tried to reach out to the Knicks, they didn't respond? Like we showed no interest in him at all. The DeJounte Murray beef when he went from San Antonio to Atlanta.
I'm not sure.
I was kind of under the impression that the San Antonio GM and the Atlanta GM have a relationship, and that just kind of I don't know that they kind of put him on the open market to everybody as much as it was that, kind of like we have a relationship with Detroit where we've made several deals with them. I think the Spurs and Hawks have a similar rapport, and I think that it was just one of those things that materialized pretty quickly. Should the Knicks have been in on that? Maybe so. I don't know, if that was our focus or not. But I think Murray's a good defender. The only concern that I would have on Murray is I don't know how good a catch and shoot 3-point shooter he is. But and so if you're going to have him and Barrett on the court on the same time with Randall, and I'm not sure how great that. I think they'll be able to pack the paint still on us with that, just because he's not consistent from that standpoint. But that's really the only drawback I see. I think Shuttle is correct about his defense. I think Tibbs would love him at the point of attack, and I think he would do just fine as far as that's concerned. But his catch and shoot threes and his his ability to knock down the 3-pointer consistently to create the spacing that we really want on offense, I don't know if he provides that. So from that standpoint, is he a perfect fit? No. But the other thing is, I don't want to sit here and nitpick fit to the end. I think we tend to do that too much sometimes. If he fits the DNA and they feel like he can help the team, then make it work. But
overall, he's shooting 38.3% from 3 on 6 attempts a game. So he's really reworked himself as a shooter since leaving San Antonio.
Right now.
On catch and shoot, he's 35.6%. And on pull-ups, he's 41.9%. And he takes about 3 catch and shoots a game and 3 pull-ups a game of the 6. That's the distribution. So I mean, yeah, I noticed that watching Atlanta that his 3-point shooting is much, much better than it was in San Antonio. I think the question becomes, I think the Knicks are not gonna, if there isn't a superstar available, I think the Knicks are gonna need 2 high-level players. Maybe one could be a star there, but so you can't give up all of your assets for Murray and not have enough left to get another upgrade. We need 2. You're not going to get a superstar. You need 2.
I'll take Sadiq Bey off their hands.
I don't know if Murray and Sadiq Bey is going to get it. Like Stafford earlier said, who did you say, Stafford? Malik Monk and Mikal Bridges. I like that. Besides Brunson and Randall, but Sadiq Bey and DeJounte Murray, I don't know if that does it.
We need base size.
It's not just the size. You got to be able to play, though.
He can play, though.
He can play, but all right. I mean, I like Sadiq Bey. He's 6'8". He can shoot the ball. He's a good defender.
Trust me, Queen.
He's not a scorer like though.
He can rebound.
He rebounds. He gives you about 4 rebounds a game or something like that.
6.5.
He averages 6 rebounds a game?
6.4 rebounds, 13 points a game.
Base.
I think we're gonna need more than that next to. I think we're gonna. I like DeJounte Murray, but you still like DeJounte Murray and Levine. Can you make that happen? You know what I mean? I think you're gonna need two good level guys, and I don't think.
Queen talking about blockbusters. I heard you, Queen. She said we going let's blockbuster like the album.
I don't know if
Dejounte
we have
Murray
to.
and Donovan Mitchell.
Somebody
Mm,
said Murray and Ingram, sign me up.
yeah,
Um,
I like that too.
yeah,
But
the thing
DeJounte is
about
averaging what 20 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 6'5", and he's age 27, just around Bronson and
Who's that, Staffer?
Miranda.
Who's that?
DeJounte Murray,
Oh, oh,
age 27, right around
dang.
those guys' age.
He's
You know what I
27
mean? So
already?
yeah, he fits the timeline, man. So that would be a great um backcourt with both of them because with two of them could create for themselves, and they on a switch. You know what I mean? That could always be good. So that small forward point, that position, as Queen would say, Mikael Bridges will be sweet in that position right there. You
right.
know,
I don't think like
or Ingram.
Murray alone doesn't make us championship contenders by
No,
himself. I don't think he does.
two positions, Queen.
But what I like, to your point, Staffer, with those two guards, both of them can play on and off the ball at
Yeah,
this point,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so now Murray can play point, and you can have Brunson coming off screens. We can take advantage of his catch and shoot ability. They can switch, it could be, it can work either way, and you get the defense. However, it comes down to how much do you have to give up for him? Because you have to have something less to get left to get another ring. I just don't think Murray by himself puts us over the top.
I would agree
We
with that.
need to get Andy on this show so he could figure out some trades for us with his trade machine.
Well, Andy would send quickly out, for a ham sandwich. I know that. He is not an IQ fan. I found that out the hard way the other day.
No, it was.
Whose
I
champ
mean,
is it?
unfortunately, that will have to probably include him too. Him and Fournier, and probably a couple of first round picks protected to get the deal done. Because I don't think Atlanta gonna just give him up straight up like that.
No. Murray is a good start. Anybody else wanted to comment?
Uh, I don't see the front office making any major moves. So
I don't think that's major. It's minor. You know what I mean? But I don't see it as a major move.
that's a major move, man. You start talking about two, 3 picks and 3 players. That's a move.
Yeah.
That's not bringing in Cam Reddish for a second round pick or whatever. That's a move or a first
Nah,
round pick.
two first round picks is definitely legit. Bringing in a guy like Murray is
Yeah,
legit.
exactly. Yeah,
The Knicks got
that's
11
legit
of them.
business
I
right
mean,
there.
Yeah, but I don't know. This front office seems like they're waiting. It's like, yo, I don't want that girl. I don't want that girl. I don't want that girl. I want that girl. And I'm not asking anybody out on a date until I get that one girl. And it's like that's how this front office seems. Like, yo,
And
they're waiting for the one big power move that's gonna truly make it happen, and they're not really gonna entertain too much.
and
Too
and
much.
then and they end up missing the prom.
Good recipe to be single, right, Shuttle?
Allegedly.
listen, if we still got enough assets left, I would do it. Depends on what they're asking for.
I mean, listen, you can get off of his contract with an expiring like Fournier. The money is available now, and you get two first round picks. Did they give up what 2 or 3 to get him?
3.
I mean, listen, you get 2 back. You already got a season and a half out of him. So, you get 2 picks back. That's a reasonable return on the investment.
Queen, question.
Mhm.
Would you take a fly on KD if he asked to come back to New York?
What you doing with the rest of the roster? Because if you see, the Knicks can't be slow rolling this, which is what I think they're doing now. You bring in KD, you got a 2-year window. You got to change everything.
2-year window?
You don't think so?
Nah.
You think it's longer?
No, it's less. It's a 1-year window with KD. KD's about to be out the league, man.
What? Have you been
He's
watching
very
KD play?
yeah, but he's not. Listen, man. This year and next year, he's up there in age and physically. Listen, he's still got the skills. He's gonna have the same skills in 5 years, but he's not gonna be able to play at the NBA level in 5 years.
Right. I'm not saying
he
it's a
gets
5-year
injured.
window.
No, he's got 2 years on his contract. That's all you're asking for.
I don't think he's gonna be playing at that level in 2 years. That's just
We're
my
talking this year and next year.
yeah, because guaranteed he's gonna get hurt. He's gonna lose some time. It's gonna take him time to get back in shape. It's gonna take him time to get I don't think it's a good investment to. I just don't think so. He's a great player. If we were ready right now and we needed that one extra guy
But why are we not ready right now? Because we don't have KD. We're not ready right now because we don't have the players. You get the players, you ready right now. I don't know. I think that would be a risky move for the Knicks.
Super risky.
But KD, Brunson, and Randall, you're a championship contender. I mean, you got to fill out the rest of your roster. It's risky because you don't have a lot of time to do it.
And then we gonna gut the whole roster and gut our whole assets.
I know
And then
that's a
in
risk.
2
That's what I'm
years-
saying. It's risky.
And then in 2 years we back to ground zero again.
To do that deal.
No. In 2 years, you're back to Brunson and building around Brunson and Randall. If you can resign them.
To do that deal, you'd be giving up RJ, who he's replacing in the starting lineup, Fournier, whose contract is expiring,
Quickly.
and Emmanuel quickly, and that
Grimes.
No,
the numbers
they can have Grimes anyway.
the numbers already add up with those 3 players. The numbers already and they're not going to want 10 players. They're going to want the draft picks. So you give them a young player to replace KD with RJ Barrett, and you give them a player that they can either keep or potentially use in a trade with quickly, and you give them 3 first-round picks, and they don't need any more players. So you don't really have to truly gut the roster. I mean, I'm not calling for it or anything like that, but since we talking.
Goose time.
But we talking about gutting the roster like we have this nice state. We was just talking about how we need to up. I'm not concerned about gutting.
No, I don't think there's any roster gutting that would need to happen to make a deal like that happen.
So you're saying quickly Fournier
And RJ,
and 3 first-round picks
for KD.
yeah,
Quickly.
you got you're sending out 46.9 million, and you're bringing in 47.6 million.
And you freed up backcourt time for DiVincenzo.
And he's already started anyway.
But you in other words, the DiVincenzo heart that you broke up some of that glut. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
He could get more minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we getting back any players? Just KD or that's it?
Just KD.
Just KD. You don't need. There's nothing else that they have. The only thing that they could potentially have that you would want is a backup. Is a backup point guard. And
to this,
they don't really have a backup point guard that you want. They don't even really have a starting point guard, to be honest with you. They got Beal and Booker in the backcourt. So, they need a point guard. So trading quickly allows them to maybe have their point guard of the future, which should make this an enticing trade for them. Allegedly.
KD ain't coming here anyway.
It's not cool here.
It's not cool
Yeah.
here.
He don't want to come.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in the chat was just screaming KD, so I just said, let me just ask the
I
question.
mean, the only thing I would say is my preference, if I'm trading RJ and quickly, my number one preference is to get a young veteran that could be with the team for some time.
Like a book.
Because you're trading youth for aging players. When after 2 years, when that player can't play anymore, unless you have a championship, you don't really have a lot to show for the young talent that you traded away.
Hence,
So
hence, Steph, my trade that I proposed earlier, Jeremy Grant, only 27 years old, 22 points per game, 46 from the field, 40 plus from three, and a solid defender. And you get Robert Williams in that deal. You got your backup power forward / backup center. I
but
say,
Robert
He's
Williams
committed to
gets
Portland,
hurt a
though.
lot too. He's out for the season now.
Yeah, but I think,
He gets hurt a lot too.
and I think what's his name is committed to Portland, bro. I don't think he just signed that contract too. I don't think
I
Portland
think,
gonna let
It's
him
on
go
him.
like
It's
that.
on Portland though.
I think he signed it because he thought he was playing with Dame, and then Dame got dealt.
Yeah, but I don't think he want to go nowhere though. I
It's
think
not
he.
up to him though.
Who's
I,
It's
going
up
hear,
out
to
in
the
I
the
front
hear
next
you.
office.
trade,
I
Shuttle?
hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear
Well,
it's not up to him.
in that trade, I want to send them RJ in that trade
Okay.
Man, why y'all trying to get rid of RJ, man?
because I think that Jeremy Grant is more of a Tibbs player and a better fit alongside Brunson and Randall.
That makes a lot of sense to me, Shuttle.
And
Too
RJ
much sense to
hasn't lived
happen.
up to
Let's
the
put it
hype.
that way.
Shuttle.
Yeah.
RJ can go. I'm just saying this because it's a thing we say here. Like, why are you trying to get rid of RJ?
Oh,
Because every time we talk about RJ, like, you know, the they on in the chat, everybody, oh, the RJ hate is real and blah blah. They don't realize that.
if it walks like a duck, it
Exactly,
might be a duck.
exactly. But they don't.
Somebody said Jeremy Grant can't play with Randall.
Why not?
Why?
I
Are they
mean,
allergic to each
like,
other or something?
Play together.
yeah, and RJ's playing with him real great these past 4 years.
Exactly.
At least I know A Grant is going to give me better defense, which is a weakness. B, he's going to give me hustle plays. C, he shoots 40% from the field, 41.5% from the field this year, and his career is like 37, 38%, if I'm not mistaken. So, he's already proven consistency where there are areas that that we wish RJ was. And he's only a couple of years older.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant makes too much sense for it to actually happen. That's a great thought, Shuttle. I like that.
The front office be like, nah, that makes too much sense.
Somebody wants to know
Well,
why are we
because
so
they're
desperate.
young too, man. And that's a young team over there too. So I think they might grow.
What,
He
what was
might
that?
grow with that team.
What was that, Queen? Say it
Anyway, now somebody said why are we so desperate? I don't think it's desperate to try to upgrade your team.
That's what I'm
Anyway,
saying. It's,
next.
it's like they want us to stay at one level. You gotta grow at some time, bro. We expect us to be at the same level all the time.
And be open to change.
I mean,
Like
you
Queen
guys.
always says, a lot of guys could go. So right now, the only two guys that's safe on the Knicks is Randall
And
and
Brunson.
Brunson. Everybody else could go, as far as I'm concerned, because y'all not even consistent. And shame on all those tourists and Knicks fans who keep showing up to the Garden.
But I think part of them not being consistent, like I said earlier, is the fact that they're young, and that's the problem with the Knicks. But anyway, next week's games: Wednesday we play OKC, Friday we play Orlando, Saturday we play the Pacers. The Pacers have come back to earth a little bit, and so has Orlando, I believe.
Sure have.
OKC is
revenge
falling, though.
game.
Excuse me? Say that again, Shadow.
No, I said they sure have.
Okay, let me just real quick. OKC is third in the Western Conference. They're 19-9. They've won their last game. Orlando is fourth, 18-11. They've won two after going on like a little mini
Skid.
losing streak.
A mini skid.
And who else we said? Orlando,
Indiana.
OKC.
Indiana.
Indiana.
Indiana is now in 8th place. They're 15-14. The last 10 is actually better. They're 4-6 over their last 10. Orlando is also 4-6 over their last 10. And
Mhm.
OKC is 7-3 over their last.
Chad,
10.
boy.
I think
Listen, man, OKC's a
the
problem.
Knicks want to show me something. I go 3-0.
I would love to think so, but we ain't going 3-0.
And all of those are on the road, by the way.
Have faith. Have faith, Staffer. Why can't we
I
go?
gave you faith last week.
No, we're gonna beat up. We're gonna beat up on OKC.
I gave you faith. I gave you faith last week. This week I'm gonna give you faith again. We gonna go 2-1.
Yeah.
We gonna I feel we're gonna lose to OKC. We're gonna beat Orlando, and then we're gonna beat the OB Revenge.
Randall's
In
going for
Indiana.
blood. Oh, well, Obi, I
Yes.
think I heard he's out of the starting lineup, but he may not be matched up with Randall.
The coolest. I'm looking for you on Saturday night too.
I think the Knicks are hitting their stride, and honestly, I think it started with the Phoenix win. Even though we lost to the Clippers the next game, I just think it's something clicked with them. That game, in my opinion. So I'm really looking forward to this week. Now, Shuttle, this is what I was saying. Boston and Milwaukee, they're better teams than us, I believe. Philly as well. But what are you doing against Orlando? What are you doing against Miami? What are you doing against Cleveland, Indiana, Brooklyn? Those teams that are supposedly on your level. So we get two of them this week in Orlando and Indiana.
Right.
Who play at a breaknecking speed. They can run the Knicks out of, the Knicks offense is good too, but I don't know if it's that. Indiana pace is good, so the Knicks they're gonna have to play some defense that game.
We gonna get them Knicks basketball. Trust me, we gonna slow them down. We gonna be physical with them. We gonna get in the paint, and we gonna rough them up. We dealing with some. I mean, all of they young, they energetic, but we just as young and energetic, and we physical. And that's one thing. When I heard Jeff say when teams say that we're gonna play New York, oh man, yeah. When we come in physical, so prepare to get that beat down. Prepare to get Randall shoulders in your chest. You know what I mean? So I mean, look, I'm looking forward to certain matchups with this week, especially with Randall and Chet. You're gonna have Obi and Randall. You gonna have who else? It's gonna be some nice. Yeah, it's gonna be some nice matchups, man. It's gonna be some nice matchup. Banchero and Randall. So it's gonna be physical. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be some good games, Queen.
Listen, Randall and Brunson can't do it by themselves. We talked about this earlier in the show. If Quickly usually shows up, I'm not worried about him. But you get Quick and you get RJ, we can go 3-0. The question with the Knicks is you don't know what you're gonna get behind those two. That's the issue.
It is.
Jeff, what's your thoughts on the
Well, I think Oklahoma City playing against Minnesota tonight probably works in our favor a little bit. because I think that's second night of a back to back for them, and we're not on a second night of a back to back. So hopefully we can parlay that into an advantage. Um, I think playing Indiana on the second night of a back to back is not ideal for us, especially
Yeah.
without Robinson right now. But hopefully we'll go 2-1. You know,
Wow.
just keep things going. If 3-0 would be great, but it's a lot of road games. It's I don't know. I just think if we go 2-1, I'll be happy.
Me too. And I want you to beat Orlando and Indiana. I mean, we take them wherever you get them, but I'm really interested to see how they match up against those two things.
Could I just say this? OKC 129 over Minnesota 106 tonight. Shea
Woo!
Alexander had 34,
Damn.
34, 6 and 9.
Yeah, he's a problem.
So that boy ain't playing. He ain't
Or he
playing.
is playing.
And the Wolves, if they're still not the number one ranked defense, they're up there. I mean, that was a good win for them because I think Minnesota's what, second? Minnesota's first in the Western
Yeah,
Conference
first, yeah,
at
with they
22 and
22
Chargers
and
7.
are third.
7. Yeah, 22 and 7.
Oof.
Mm-hmm. Anthony had 25, 7 and 6.
Wow. Yeah, these are the games I'm looking forward to now.
I
You
don't
know,
know.
we're finished with the Detroits and what have you. This is it. Ajay?
I was gonna say I don't know what y'all nervous about. We're gonna win. We're gonna beat OKC tomorrow.
Okay.
Listen,
Sign me up.
listen. Tomorrow's gonna be their letdown game. All right, and we're gonna swoop right in and steal one. We're gonna be fine. But I think we're gonna lose to Orlando though. I don't like that team. They just like they're a matchup problem for us.
Drummond had 24 points and 25 rebounds tonight, by the way, for people that want him. Yeah.
And for people that say,
What?
and for people, more so for people that say,
Wow.
why do you want
Right.
him? It was a lot of slander on that Drummond talk last week.
Hmm.
Doesn't sound like Chicago going to be too quick to give him up if he's putting those numbers up.
Did they win though?
They showcasing him.
Maybe they're showcasing.
Chicago. Did Chicago win?
Yeah, Chicago won tonight.
Let me see.
They beat the Hawks 118-113.
They've been playing good ball lately. They may not be so quick to break everything up if they keep rising.
But they're doing it without Levine though, so they might be saying we can lose him because we're winning without him. We'll see. And Atlanta, I'm not gonna get on my Trey Young kick. You
The
know,
key
he's
to
a
that,
star. He's a star. He's Atlanta is
the key to that
regular season. He's
OKC
been there.
game is the bench queen, because I'm looking at the bench scoring. They don't play. They hardly score. The heavy minutes is going towards the starters.
Hmm.
And the bench, shoot, 9 points, 4 points, 7 points.
All right.
The only threat is probably who is that? It's probably Kurt. Wasn't it Kurt Williams
Who for who?
for
Chicago?
OKC? Oh no, OKC.
What?
The bench.
OKC.
Oh, the bench. You're talking about the bench.
Yeah, the
Okay.
bench.
All right.
Yeah, the bench. They don't really have a good bench like that.
Yeah, but
We'll see. I think our
yeah,
bench is overrated. In the sense of being inconsistent. On paper, we look great, but we don't know who's showing up on any given night. Josh Hart, he's been every 3 or 4 games. I think Quickly has been our most consistent. Hartenstein is starting now. We got Taj coming off the bench. I don't know how Grimes is missing in action. So I don't understand why we keep saying we have a really good bench. Other than Quickly, who's the good bench?
Nah, bench is not what you were thinking it was before the season started.
I don't know. I like Josh Hart. Maybe I'm the only one,
I
but
like Josh
I
Hart
mean,
too, but I just don't think he's been who
Delivering.
I
we
thought he was
thought he
pretty
would
good
be.
against Milwaukee. I mean, he had what, 10 points, 9 boards, like 4 dimes or something like that. I mean, he was good against Milwaukee. It was just the key piece. I mean, I think he's been playing better late. Maybe that's just my imagination. I don't know, but I think we're getting more of last season's Josh Hart than we were. Early on, first 15 games or so, he was terrible. I'll agree with that, but I think he's kind of starting to hit his stride a little bit. But
La-
again,
la-
Two
last
maybe I got.
games ago, Mitch,
well,
he had
la-
like
last 10 games, Josh Hart 6.5 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal per game. He's averaging 87% from the free throw line, 32 from three, and 45 from the field. 26 minutes.
he gets the most minutes out of everybody on the bench, even more minutes than Quickly.
Well,
He,
he's back.
he's been okay. I agree, he's been better of late, but
My whole thing is
he's been
with
okay.
Josh is that he don't hit the occasional three when he wanted to win, and you could see teams be daring him to shoot too, and when he does, he don't make it. Sometimes he will hesitate, and then he'll run and try to hit that mid-range jumper. It go in sometimes, and sometimes it don't. And that's the inconsistency that we're talking about on the bench. But as I said to you before, Queen, they look like they use like a 10 to 11 man rotation, OKC, but they look like three main players they use as heavy minutes, you know. So I think we do have a chance in beating them though, but we have to beat win the bench scoring for sure, in order for us to beat OKC too.
All right, we'll see. Any last words? And you guys can give your well, most of us gave our predictions, right? I say 2-1.
I'm going 2-1 also.
I say 2-1, but the one that we're losing is not OKC. It's Orlando.
Okay.
Orlando is definitely a tough matchup uh, for specifically for Randall and Powell, but you definitely would prefer to win your two conference matchups for tiebreakers, et cetera, et cetera. So, um, you know, like you said, Steph, you have to establish who you are against teams that you either are on par with or should be better than. And Orlando and Indiana are definitely these teams. So if you're going to have losing records against the Bostons and the Milwaukees and the 76ers, you gotta win 3 out of 4 of these other type of matches against these type of teams. So now that, like you said, you passed the Detroits and the Charlottes and all of that, now you're on teams that are more along your playing field, fighting for the same spots you're fighting for, the 4, 5, and 6s. These are the games these are the games you have to win.
Yeah, no doubt. Anybody else? Any last words? No. All right. Let me just add this real quick. The MBK family of shows. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification button so you'll be notified anytime any content drops on this channel. Shout out to Simeon Russell, the creator of the channel. He does the pregame show, postgame show, and then he'll have the shoot around, the NBA wrap up with Ron of Still Nick Fans, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio, the Losers Lounge with Tony Crow of Knicks and Bruises, live shows and videos by International Andy, Queen's Court with yours truly of Dope Soul Sports Talk. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button. We go live every Thursday, and then we also have pop up shows. special programming and events by Simeon Russell, also the creator of this channel. Keep in mind that the channel has been demonetized by YouTube for some reasons that was difficult to understand. So no super chats. If you want to donate to the channel, let me just put it here. You can donate through Cash App at nothing but Knicks or PayPal.me slash forward slash was that a backward slash? Backward slash. Is that backwards or forwards? Anyway, y'all see it. Nothing but Knicks. If you're a member of the channel, you know, you may have recognized that the past few months the $5 haven't been coming out. If you're demonetized, you don't get your, you know, your membership fees you don't get during that time as well. So again, Cash App, PayPal .me to support the channel. And with that, we out. I think, when do we play? Tomorrow, Wednesday, Sim will be on as usual with the pregame. I'm not sure what time, but have your notifications on.
I was gonna say, don't just remind me of Just Nick and It show.
Yes.
On Thursday on Dosol.
Yeah. Thursday, 9 p.m. the Just Nick and It weekly show.
And shout out to Lady and the Chef. Don't forget their show, 2 Nick Chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 Nick Chicks.
Look out for special programming off of Those Soul Sports Talk. Now, I mean,
Yes.
we could be coming out loud, right, AJ?
Yes, sir.
Stop the madness.
Yeah. keep your notifications on.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Until next time, fam.